Hello there, welcome to Gargoyle Games, and this is Star Trek Morpheus.
Okay, hello and welcome to the first episode of Star Trek Morpheus, our new Star Trek Adventures by Morpheus show. I'm Pete. Again, I'm not the games master in this one. And in a minute we'll go around and we'll say who we are and what we're doing here. But before we do, please don't forget to go and check out our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. We're sharing all of our updates on there. Recently talked about some maps we're giving away over on our Patreon, which we would like you to go and have a look at as well. Giving away maps, D&D stuff, Mage the Ascension, bits and bobs, and I'm building adventure locations that we're giving out to different tiers of our patrons. We're up to 39 patrons today. We've got another one today, so that's cool. Thank you very much everyone who supports us. You make it a bit better for everyone else, from all the microphones that you can just about see and all the gear and equipment, the insulation on the walls and all the other things that we get. Thank you, you guys are awesome. Don't forget to go and check out our Discord. We've got a link below. And we've got various things on Drive-Thru-RPG and Redbubble. There are some links down there as well. I won't take up any more time with those. But as this is a character creation session, we should probably get started, shouldn't we?
Yeah. So, yes, so to explain what the basics of the idea behind Star Trek Morpheus was. So the idea is that we want to move on a little of time. So the next generation is like almost 30, well, it started 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. Yeah. And that was kind of a new idea, and it brought in loads of new ideas and technology and new civilizations, that kind of thing. But it's been quite a while, and while Star Trek continued since, nothing's really moved it, sort of tried to move it forward to something new, to sort of, you know, do a next generation kind of idea. So
next generation.
Yeah. But yeah, so a friend of mine came up with an idea for a future technology. I think he saw someone on the internet, but he can't remember where, so I can't offer. If you came up with this idea, I apologise, but he can't remember where he saw it.
It's an original idea.
Yes, sure. That, you know, in the future, that the Federation might be able to come up with hologrammatic ships with the added bonus that therefore they could change their configuration as they wanted to try and adapt to the situation, because the Federation, the Starfleet, has always liked having adaptable ships, multi-purpose ships, where it can. Has specialised ships as well, but, you know, the flagships, the big ships, you know, the ones you see on the television are often the multi-purpose ones.
Like the multi-vector attack ship in Voyager.
USS Prometheus.
Yeah. Message in a bottle.
Yeah.
Specify target. Romulans.
Yeah. With Andy Dick as the second gen, the emergency medical hologram.
Surprisingly good. I would have thought Andy Dick could be any good.
Yeah, he was good at that one. We like Star Trek.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of this.
Yeah,
so we apologise if we at any point have a go at Voyager. I don't apologise.
I don't apologise.
I don't apologise for having a go at Wesley. Yeah. You're all going to say shut up, Wesley.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, the idea is that we have a new class, a new enterprise. It's 2395. It's 20 years since the end of the Dominion War. And pick me up on that again. These facts are wrong. You guys don't
worry.
Probably more about
it's your game. It's your game.
But yes, it's 20 years since the end of the war. It's what 18 years since the last time you saw the Enterprise. I think it was a Nemesis. Is that 77 or 78?
And it kind of
68.
done a bit of.
Sorry?
It collided with a giant Romulan battleship.
Yeah, it wasn't well. But I think
I thought that was like 2376.
Yeah, it's after the war, but it was only a few years. I can't remember exactly when. But yeah, it's between 16 and 20 years ago.
Put it in the comments below if you've got it.
I have looked up memory of it, but yeah, memory for exact dates is not great. But anyway, so I think it's probably time that maybe the Sovereign class had another crash with a Romulan vessel or whatever, that there would be a new Enterprise because they've often had experimental technologies on Enterprises. I mean, the first one was famous for being the first real platform, wasn't Starfleet, but the first sort of
Warp 5.
The NX class.
Yeah, the NX one, and then, you know, the original series was kind of established everything, but it seemed to have experimental stuff and how much it went wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So, and obviously, you know, with the Enterprise D Next Generation one, you had like the holodecks. They looked pretty new from how everyone reacted. Yep. So I assume that was fairly new technology, and the source of separation. Everyone seemed quite impressed as well.
Kept going wrong as well.
Yeah. but yeah, and you had the source separation, which I think I don't know if it was the first model with that, but
I think it was, wasn't it? Source of separation on the Enterprise D, first one that really. I mean, you don't know any reference of other ships that did it, and they were like, "Ooh, we can do source."
Prior to that,
Yeah.
Well,
Can Nebulas do it?
no, because they might be able to, because the Nebula class was built due to having a numerous amount of leftover saucers after the Galaxy class
Engines blew up. they all popped off, and then they were like, "Okay, well, we got to stick them on something."
From Utopia Planitia on Mars.
Okay, right, yeah.
They had a lot of leftover saucers.
what, did someone put a number wrong?
Right. Instead of creating whole new star drive sections, we'll just go. Okay, we'll just bolt a science module.
I'm always
impressed
with how they justify the fact that they went, well, we've got the saucer model, and we just want to stick something else in the back to make it look a bit different.
Yeah.
Well, let's say they had too many saucers in the yard.
Yeah. Well, we did. Yeah.
How they justify
That's
it.
cool.
Like the Constellation class, I think, was just a missaid of the Constitution, wasn't it? And they dubbed over it.
Oh, really?
Something. I think it was one of the classes. It was something like Geordie said.
We need to make a model.
And they're like, I think we'll have the Constitution class around. Let's sort of overdub it so that Geordie looks like, and we need to pick a class name that looks like he's saying Constitution.
Okay,
because he's actually saying Constitution, but like Constellation, yeah, it looks more or less the same.
Cool.
I think that's where that came from. So yeah,
I like
it's
the
always fun.
little tidbits already.
I thought the Constellation class originated from, again, a misspeaking in the original series.
Yeah? Oh,
'Cause they referred to. Well, they referred to the original Enterprise as various things like Starship class.
Right.
Serious.
Oh, yeah. Fighting Romans again.
This is where
What did the lot next door have as costumes for their last film that they made? Oh, cowboys!
This is why Rodden rewrote the Bible for next year.
Anyway,
so yeah, I meant to look up what stardate this would be, but I forgot. Oh well, because
We'll sort that
the
out.
first two digits progressed with the year, so you can work out that. But I forgot. But
Yeah.
we'll work that out later. So yes, so this class has a whole holographic hull mostly. It's got this non-holographic hull that's got like the main warp core and engines in it, and obviously a lot of holoprojectors on the outside.
yes.
And I think probably some replicators and maybe some transporters just for emergency kind of stuff. I was trying to think what would be in there earlier.
Sure.
Anyway, but most of the hull is holographic, so most of the ship is made up entirely of sort of these holograms that you can therefore change what it looks like, change its size to a certain extent, and and most of the quarters are in there, most of the labs, most of the medical, most of the things are supposed to be there because this is supposed to be a permanent hologram that you just sort of shifts around as it comes with the role. At least I think so. I mean,
With
it's up to you
different
guys.
levels of security attached to different parts of it, I assume. Like,
Yeah.
most people can change the interior of their quarters, but they can't remove the deck.
I think beyond the quarters, you could change the interior of rooms. But I think it's probably moving the rooms
like,
around.
oh, and the plant
within
over there, and I want different coloured drapes.
Yeah, and I think it's moving the rooms within relation to each other. That's probably like a command bridge level thing. But yes, the non-holographic hull can take all the people. So if the whole power goes out, everyone can fit in the holographic hull, and it can be used as basically an emergency vehicle. But at that stage, you're at like proper, more dense than Defiant kind of things, like proper liners today. I mean, I was watching a documentary about the naval ship the other day, and like the youngest guy who had the worst bunk had like a thing like this big. It was like on the top of the ceiling, like 3 bunks. Yeah, it's like that.
Cool.
And he had like a rope, and he kind of had to limbo into it. Anyway, I'll go and go too much for the cost price.
So I am a bit.
There's an escape on it. When it's a whole wall escape.
This is F. Enterprise.
No, because F sounds silly.
Okay.
I mean, very important, deep things happen with the F.
Oh yeah, that got lost.
But I don't know. I don't like the sound of Enterprise F, to be honest. So I went with Enterprise G because it sounds.
Okay. Sure. So the E was the
sovereign.
Sovereign. So it got smashed up. The F was something else, got lost somewhere, and then they're like, we'll do a new. So we're literally new anyway, aren't we?
You've always got to have an Enterprise.
It's just coming out of space dock.
Yeah, it's
of all
new.
the final safety tests.
And obviously, it's been tested before, and they're like, it's probably not the first one of its class. So I don't know. I haven't decided. I mean, one of the things I wanted to do was have you guys input on exactly creating this whole galaxy and what the situation is currently before we get to the characters and things. If that's all right.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, lovely.
I think we should go around and everyone introduce themselves because we do have 2 new people.
That's a good point, Peter.
In the studio who are joining the cast. Joining the cast for the first time, fellow members of the St Albans Role Playing Club, and I don't know if you want to go first over there.
Okay. Hello, I'm Keith. I am a member of St Albans Role Playing Club.
Do you know what kind of character you want to play?
Well,
Have you had any thoughts?
It depends what other people are doing. Last Star Trek game I played, I was an engineer.
Okay.
who ended up being the captain because our captain
Yes,
I'm running it.
wasn't very reliable.
He only gave one plan.
So-
So Klingons.
I might, you never know, start out trying to be the captain and end up being the engineer this time.
Interesting reversal.
I'm Sam. I am just happy that I'm not running now for a bit, having recently finished doing the Mage game on the channel. I am toying with doing a chief medical officer, but again, I'm pretty
Yeah,
flexible
depends.
depending on what other people
Yeah.
want to do. So
Oh dear, that means. Okay. Go
Hi, I'm Dan. I also have a number of ideas for characters. So yeah, happy to discuss further. But I'm really looking forward to a Star Trek game. It's been
Yeah.
a while.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's been a while for Star Trek, and I must admit, like others around this table, I am a massive Star Trek nerd.
Absolutely. And I'm Pete, and I want to play a Cardassian
A Kardashian what?
science officer. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I'm tempted to try the random character creation system. I'm tempted, but there's just part of me that wants to. Apart from Cardassian. Apart from Cardassian.
You can randomise any bit you want. You don't have to randomise
Sure.
the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like what type of planet you come from, I might roll that. You know. Kind of thing.
Yes.
Oh,
So-
Cardassian.
But anyway, so like I say, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind going to just
Yeah.
how what the galaxy is
Cool.
currently. So we've obviously got this holographic ship, and like I say, there's a few technology. I think I haven't decided what to call it, but my current favourite is DET. The idea that the holograms, as soon as they lose power, they don't all fade. So you're not just like floating in space. As the show goes out, you're like, oh dear.
Yeah.
My plan to kill everybody in the first session.
Someone on Reddit was giving me some interesting feedback on the concept. I'll leave it at that. It's Reddit.
Having sort of residual charge.
I've called it the best name I've called it is the durable energy template DET. The idea is
that's cool.
the idea is that
I like that.
for a few
Durable.
for a few minutes after the power's cut out, it's kind of it just holds there for a second, then it starts destabilizing, and then bits start falling out, and it sort of and it fades out from.
And that's
the
when
outside
we
in.
whack our belt buttons and our emergency.
So it should give, and theoretically, even if entire power is lost on the Enterprise, everyone should have enough time to evacuate to the non-holographic hull.
Like it.
Yeah.
That
the
covers problem number one. That's good.
And it also means that the power requirements are lower, and it means it's one part of the reason that the whole ship could be a holographic. That was a side effect I quite like.
So if you create a holographic energy producing device,
Mhm.
can it still produce enough energy to be self-sustaining?
Oh. No, you can't do that. That defies the laws of physics.
Well, again, holograms in Star Trek have always been a bit vague on exactly when they replicate and transport stuff in, or whether they just replicate stuff there. But some stuff is definitely replicated because it follows them out of the holodeck, so it's obviously not just.
Well, no. I think they always got dressed up before they went to the holiday.
Yeah, but sometimes they become entirely wet and then they walk out. They'd
I know,
wet,
but that was just
and
like
they'd eat and drink and stuff. And
let's remember it's a TV show.
exactly.
I'm wearing a TV show.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, so I think more than likely.
Does that mean we're not real?
I am.
But no, I think the way it works is that most of the power generation is done in the main warp core and engine as part of the non-holographic hull, and then it makes holographic EPS
I'd
conduits.
say that was the one that the warp core. I thought that bit has to be real.
Yeah, so the warp core and the propulsion systems would have to be.
Well, partially. I think that there's a propulsion system. Some of the cells are on the main holographic hull, but they actually, when the hologram is entirely on, they're just the conduits and the mains and the cells and stuff.
Okay, cool.
So the speed that you can go up with non-holographic hull is actually much lower than the.
But there'd be like a little impulse drive.
Oh yeah. You can move. It moves around stuff. It's an
Yeah.
emergency vehicle though,
Yeah.
so most of the engines and stuff are sort of holographic, and then they attach to the
Cool.
other ones, and they sort
I
of
like
amplify its effect.
Make them the cells larger and more effective.
Yeah.
By diverting your holographic power. through-
Because if you've got holographic coiled windings that are creating an energy field, there's still power flowing through them from the warp core. They're still going to create an energy field.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like when they go and shoot Borg and they turn the safeties off in the holodeck.
Exactly.
Energy's created, it does something, but it has come from somewhere. The Enterprise has created that energy. You can't go, I'm building my holographic fusion reactor and I'm taking it off the Enterprise and then it's going to carry on powering itself.
But it would still need fuel. But what I'm saying is, if you created a holographic warp core and put antimatter and antimatter in it.
Oh, that's different. Yeah, that's different.
I don't think you could probably. I don't think you can simulate dilithium or crystals that
that's
you
true.
need to. That needs to.
Fine.
They can't.
Otherwise,
They can't.
you'd be
You
able to
can't.
replicate
Yeah,
it
you
rather
can't
than
replicate
You
it.
can't replicate, and that's
Yeah.
the problem.
Mm.
Essentially, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That's why I kind of assumed there was
Okay.
a problem.
Another problem
You
solved.
can regenerate them.
Yes.
Yes, you can't fashion
Yeah,
them from nothing.
and like I say, I don't think that they've probably tested trying to make holograms that would work as dilithium things to make it float. They've probably not come round yet. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think, unless you guys want to disagree.
2379 for Nemesis, which was stardate 56844.9.
Okay. Cool.
So
So like 14. Did you say,
70
what did you say? 92, 93,
95.
95.
So,
Okay.
so that's 16 years on from that. I think.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
what
that's
you said, 50,
56.
56.
So we'd be looking at
so
sort of
16 years, so 72. Yes, is how star dates start.
What's the star date for 2395?
I will find that out.
So,
But are we at 2395 for those of us whose star dates are confusing?
Yes.
Marvellous.
yes,
And when was the end of Deep Space Nine?
75.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are 20 years.
Indeed.
After the best Star Trek TV show.
And I think Voyager got home in
My
77.
Voyager never got home.
Well, this is a good place to start. For
don't like
simplicity's sake,
I like Voyager.
No, I like. Don't get me wrong. I like Voyager, but Voyager had a tendency to spoil itself. It like create a cool new thing
I said it was going to
and
happen.
then
later.
nerf it. No, and every end of every episode, the ship had to be back to normal. You know, it kind of
No, except for the one where
Scorpion.
not necessarily not Scorpion. There was one where there was two of them. They were in parallel universe, sort of parallel, very close
Yeah,
parallel realities.
that's
They
true.
got stuck in a gravity rift.
for like 2 episodes.
I think it was just one episode. Oh, it might have
Yeah.
been two. But
And Harry Kim died on one, and
Yes,
then they took the one from the other one, and he was
but,
like,
but,
"Oh, I feel
but
really weird."
the one that did survive and carried on was the really, really fucked one.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas the
Harry
one-
Kim was the Miles O'Brien of
Yeah.
Voyager. If there was a disease or a phage or a ribbly thing, it was coming out of his nostril and going into the air. You know, that was his job.
Oh.
But they came back, and the
Oh.
final episode had like loads of time travel and Klingons with super cannons, and the Borg became irrelevant. And I don't know. When I run Star Trek, I like to say Voyager.
Kind of-
Well, they started their own federation in the Delta Quadrant.
Far, far.
And it was lovely and wonderful, and we'll never hear from them.
Yeah, and it got destroyed by the Borg. Sorry. It's a great show. It is a great show. Yeah.
So yes, what do we want to be canon? Because I mean, my natural instinct is to say everything.
Yeah.
Well, I had a couple of questions about like
Okay.
what has happened and what
Mhm.
hasn't. Like, so I suppose my big one is: has the J.J. Abrams
Romulus
destruction
destroyed.
of Romulus
Romulus destroyed.
happened?
I'm fine with it. We
If
didn't-
it has happened, I think that would create a lot of role play opportunity in the world.
Are we talking? Are we talking the future in which Star Trek Online is set?
Yes.
No.
Well, not all of it, maybe, but
Yeah.
Star Trek Online.
The
assumed-
does
Hobus
have-
star went supernova and
Yeah.
wiped out Romulus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that does present you with like then what happened to the
Romulan
Romulan Empire.
Mhm.
Aren't we going to find that out when this new Picard series comes out?
Well, we'll see.
Well, watch this space, I suppose.
They'll
But
be
Watch this Star Trek
What's this
show.
say? They'll be watching this and they'll be taking cues from us. So.
Yeah, absolutely. absolutely.
there's some guy in Hollywood's writing this all down.
Exactly.
Or we could just say, let's not have the destruction. of
I
Romulus.
personally think the destruction of Romulus does create a more colourful political,
It breaks
set.
up some of the established
the
things.
Romulan. I mean, even if you destroy, a major capital of an empire, the empire itself is still an empire. It's
Yeah.
not going to be the end of that empire. It's still got massive fleets. But
And like hundreds of worlds,
I
and a whole neutral zone of star bases. And all
I,
that
I
kind of
kind of think of it as the sacking of Rome kind of style, in
Yeah.
that, the capital
Maybe
got
not the
destroyed.
shins on stuff. Can we
May-
not,
maybe
can we
the-
not do the shins on stuff?
But it doesn't really have any long-term impact.
I suppose.
No.
It's like the guy kills the entire sort of Senate.
Yeah.
Then he goes crazy for about like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and then he dies, and it all goes back to how it was before.
And then they blow up the whole system.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, good.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like I say, Nemesis, I'm not a huge fan of what they did with it all, but it doesn't really matter. It was a long time ago, and it doesn't really affect anything
Yes.
other than I think Remans were even a thing before then. So
Yeah.
they just
Yeah,
weren't
it was,
often
yeah.
mentioned.
So my feeling is that maybe Romulus is either in a civil war, is in a civil war, or is out the other side of a civil war, and maybe you've still got the old Senate empire, and then you've got another political body on the other side of it. Either maybe those that were following the Vulcan movement,
Reunification.
Spock was there, and he's doing his thing, and it was unification, or like an emperor or empress kind of thing has taken over and taken full political power.
If you do destroy Romulus, though, you do kill Spock. As far as this timeline's concerned.
Okay.
Great, he can have a ship named after him.
No, just you're killing Spock.
Well, we know he's not dead.
Given how long he lived after he went back, he'd be dead now anyway.
No, it was only 6 years ago that Romulus blew up, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was 89.
Okay.
So are you happy with Romulus blowing up as well, or?
Well, I don't want to come across anti-Romulan here.
On the flip side, let's look the other way. What happens if Romulus didn't blow up? What's going to happen to Romulus? It's going to sit there doing what it does.
Yeah. It's going to sit there.
So it'd be
doing
more
Romulan.
interesting, wouldn't it, to have Romulus destroyed and a fracture, through the middle of the Romulan Star Empire. I think that'd be quite. I think there would be a large portion of it that want to stay close to the Federation after the war.
Well, after the Dominion War, it was the Romulans that came out on top. Klingons and Federation were screwed.
Absolutely.
The Klingons had lost most of their fleet because they were the ones doing most of the fighting during that period where
and they kept flying into stars and stuff to blow up Ketracel White Factory.
Yeah. Because it was the Klingons doing fight when the other species, I can't remember the name of the species. Breen, thank you. Entered the fight.
Man.
Okay.
Never turn your back on a Breen.
Yeah. So, I think.
Although I think the Klingon Empire will have broken up a bit because they basically have just the Federation have put in a leadership with Worf backing it up.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, we're buddies. I think that half the houses would go, hang on, we've just had the most monumental victory in combat ever. We should be so proud that we're Klingons, and not necessarily in an aggressive way, but be like, we're the true Klingon Empire, and you guys are like.
Well,
Not.
Federation.
Well, one of the things that we did talk about was a little bit that maybe some of the Klingon houses have gone in different directions. So maybe some have pretty much joined the Federation.
Maybe.
And some are holding out for whatever reason.
But if you've got a Romulan Star Empire in a civil war or a fractious state, then the Klingons who neighbour it, they're going to do Klingon. They're going to
do Klingon stuff. Yeah.
We need a buffer zone kind of thing. We're protecting ourselves.
Where we could be neutral.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
So we're happy with Romulus blowing up?
Yes,
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as are you happy with it?
Yeah,
Because it's your,
I think it's
No one here
an
is planning
interesting-
on playing a Romulan.
Well, they weren't all on there.
no,
Not
not,
on the
every,
surface.
not every single Romulan was actually on it. No.
Well,
How many layers of cosmetic surgery?
to become a Cardassian.
So, well,
Quite a lot.
that leads me to the next question. What happened to the Cardassian Union?
It's
fucked.
absolutely destroyed and is
But it's 20 years later.
about to join the Federation.
Is that where we're going to be
I
with
think
it?
the Federation went in with massive industrial
Massive
replicators, massive humanitarian project, had to focus over there. The Zenketh took advantage of it and took some territory, but the Cardassian Union is about to join.
So
the
Bajor's already
Federation.
joined?
Yeah.
Bajor's joined.
Bajor
that happened in the
Bajor had almost.
Pretty much, they were just about to sign it all.
They were
weren't
literally
But then
signing
they were like,
Cisco went,
Yeah,
no,
but
I
they were
reckon
sort
that's
of dotting I's and crossing T's, basically, weren't they, when we
throwing
last saw
people
them.
into pits of fire,
Okay,
and stuff like that.
That's for sure.
Kardashian's on the brink of joining.
Yes. So some Cardassians have already joined Starfleet.
Yeah.
Well, that's like how... again?
The Zenketh are these big, draconic-looking humanoids.
I remember that.
Yeah, and they're over there, just with their own little patch. I was reading up on them the other day. They've actually featured in two different ways in the canon. One as a draconic, kind of large, imposing, warlike species, and the other still aggressive, but kind of more humanoid, more human-looking. But they had in the Star Trek Online story, there was a big part of with the Zenketh trying to take over that area. We don't need to do all of that story, but
I don't.
I think that would be
I
part of the
don't remember. When was this? Was it an add-on? One of the.
I think it's one of the add-ons.
Yeah.
Okay.
I stopped playing it like 3 years ago.
I stopped playing about
Longer
10
than
years
that.
ago. I played it when I was at university.
All right. So what's happened to?
But I reckon when
Josh.
the Kardashians, I reckon the Breen, because they were kind of hit at the end of the war, but they weren't really that hit.
No, they kind of scampered off,
Yeah, I reckon they will have
taken part of it.
Yeah, they would have-
absolutely.
every time they're looking something, basically they've taken another system, and then the Federation
no.
go, stop that.
And
Peace.
I think they have secretly got some Ketracel White facilities
Oh God, yes.
under their control, with maybe a few Vorta who are hanging around and didn't want to give it all up.
Yeah.
And they have got a secret army of rogue Jem'Hadar working for them.
I like it.
Maybe not that secret, because they rock up and they kick the shit out of everything.
So what about the Dominion in the
Does it
other
have
quadrant?
secret? Can you keep?
No, they're off. They've made a deal, and they've honoured the deal. They're
Yeah,
off.
but that's
Yeah,
20
so-
years ago. So
No,
what are they?
Yeah.
They live forever. And
So every time, some more Jem'Hadar show up and kick the crap out of something. Guys, what are you doing? We have
Yeah,
a victory today.
yeah.
Like, what? Oh,
Yeah.
no one will believe them.
yeah, people pop through the wormhole. Hey, say hi to Cisco on the way through, and then out the other side and have a go at them. But Odo's like, no.
What about Ferengi?
Well, let me go into Dominion one since we were talking about. So
Okay.
I like the idea of happening. Something I liked the idea of happening with
Uh-huh.
Dominion was the fact that the founders have all just disappeared. They just properly just because they were all like, actually, let's just sort of. They just
We're in the
disappeared.
link, and we can go off and.
Yeah, and like their entire planet's gone. Anyone in the news report, they've just literally planet of them have just disappeared. No one knows where they've gone.
Cool.
The best they've had was a couple of orb visions seem to suggest they've gone to live with the founders or something like that. However, orb visions are very vague.
Okay.
Well, as everyone
Including
knows,
Odo.
he was part of them. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say how much Odo was part of them since. And since then, they sort of left a little message for the Vorta going, hey, Vorta, look after the Dominion. You guys are great. But they didn't explicitly say you're in charge. So
Yeah.
after about a couple of years of the Vorta trying to be in
They
charge,
did say-
Jem'Hadar went, we don't like the Vorta. And the founders have gone off. And they're not looking for them hard enough. And they killed all the Vorta. A few Vorta
Okay.
sort of fled
Cool.
into the
Yeah,
Federation,
yeah.
maybe, and
Yeah.
trying to survive there. And then since then, the Jem'Hadar have sort of formed a few warring factions.
Okay.
So
Cool.
the Dominion in the
The
on the
Gamma
other
quadrant.
Gamma
Yeah,
quadrant, other
yeah.
side of the wormhole
Yep.
are in a state of
Well, it's just an idea. I just
Jem'Hadar
wanted-
Yeah,
Civil
no, I
War.
like that. I like
Jem'Hadar
that.
Civil War.
Kind of warring tribes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, I like
So
it.
they also are not looking for the founders because they're too busy arguing about which one of them is right at the moment.
If a shapeshifter shapeshifts into a warp core, and you put
It's like the beginning of a bad joke.
Because they can turn into energy and stuff. I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, so they join up with the prophets. Or they're looking for something, or...
Or there's
no
you know,
one knows.
who
They just
knows?
disappear.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
And
right.
all visions have said that they've gone with the prophets or something. You know, that kind of
Yeah,
thing. You know,
sure.
and so there's like two people that have shared their own visions as to what's happened.
Okay.
But
Cool.
that's the only evidence anyone ever has of what's happened with them. Is
Yeah.
that-
Yeah, I like it.
and I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that idea, and I like the idea
Unless
of
someone
the
wants to
Breen
change it.
having
A few...
a few rogue
Facilities.
Jem'Hadar and Vorta around as well.
Well, like, 'cause I think the Vorta would have
over
probably.
here.
Yeah, like
Over
Jem'Hadar
here.
would have because they never really liked them
But the
anyway. I think once the fans were gone, they would have taken a little while going. The fans come back. They've not explicitly said. They just
Let's
left
get rid
a
of
message
Igniton.
going.
I think the Vorta left over here because they've also got their own class of Jem'Hadar, haven't they? They've got Alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are alphas and gammas.
Yeah, they're Alphas.
So they probably wouldn't mix anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suspect they
Yeah.
formed the different sort of warring tribes.
Yeah.
But I think that but the thing is, if the Vorta needed somewhere to go, they wouldn't have. Where would take them?
Yeah, the
'Cause
Breen.
The Klingon would kill them.
Yeah.
Romans would kill them.
Yeah.
Classians would kill them.
Federation would lock them up.
Well, the Federation.
The Breen would go, tell us everything you know about Ketracel White.
I think if you would stay in the Federation, because if they genuinely asked for asylum, like the good
Oh,
way.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
good way.
They would. They would just be followed by someone from Section 31 for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think, but then I thought, what would they be allowed to clone themselves? Because I mean, they can't
Yeah,
breed.
breed.
But obviously, the
Because
Federation very
they have
against
to
that.
clone
I'm gonna
themselves.
I would think that there's probably some kind of legislation being proposed, or there's some rights issues for
Yeah.
Vorta
If-
going on
if that-
in the
if-
Federation
If cloning
Council.
is that species only or primarily or only means of reproduction,
Yeah,
Then
then
the
they have to
Federation
let
will
them
let
do
them
it.
do it.
They'd let them do it.
Yeah.
But there'd be people who would be trying to stop
Yeah.
Vorta from because of all the bad things they did, and they're just genetically engineered to be evil bastards, ish, sort of.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So then you've got
No one's evil
the whole
at heart.
genetic engineering Well, why can't we modify that slightly to make it good?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't like doing it. We don't do it. We don't do it. It's bad.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
For
time you
every
do
good
genetic-
Julian Bashir, there's a Carnoonian Singh waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
Well, and a group of other genetic people that tried to take over, that tried to surrender to the Dominion because it's unwinnable war.
Who's genetically enhanced then?
Yeah, we're happy with that idea then?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, what about the Ferengi?
Oh, well, again, I want to over talk, but I had a good idea, and Sam said it was good. Again, I couldn't resist
I like
sharing
it, but I
Okay,
possibly would.
Okay.
so right, Rom wasn't built in a day.
The Grand Nagus Rom.
How's that never a title of an episode? Anyway,
Should have been.
Oh yeah, you're right. Rom was never built in a day. I did like the one where they have the cloaking device that's cloaked.
yeah,
The Emperor's new cloak.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like carrying it through the mining it. It's so good.
I think one of my favourite with the Ferengi has to be the little green men one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I like the
Magnificent Ferengi.
Where they're like, there's one of them who's like a tough bounty hunter guy, but
well,
not.
he's more of a crazy assassin, well, murderer.
Yeah.
Their assassin implies he was always getting paid, which doesn't seem to be the case.
But so yeah, my idea with the Ferengi, and it's a bit of another weird one. So the idea is that Rom did become Nagus. Again, if we're going with canon, that happened.
Yep.
So he, and
His mum helped him.
Yeah. So this was just after the other Zek had gone in with all these new regulations and stuff. So he wanders back to Ferengi, and they were all from Risa. And so for the first week, basically, chaos reigns. The body that Zek had put in place to sort of try to regulate the Ferengi authorities basically more or less votes themselves out of existence through lobbying, and they take a basically huge bribe and then you become kind of useless and non-existent.
Yep.
And it goes badly for a while, but then after they return from Risa and things for some reason Rom seems to find some intelligence and get it together a little. Okay. And so what he does is he with all the assets that he's inherited and that kind of thing, he opens up new employment opportunities to all Ferengi.
Right.
All Ferengi.
All Ferengi.
Females were.
Yeah.
And because he can't really trust HR and hiring of Ferengi to be good at hiring female Ferengis. It's a bit of an untapped resource. He brings in other people, civilians from the Federation, probably not Romulans, but maybe Cardassians, all these kind of things to sort of head up this sort of new hiring procedures and goes on an aggressive hiring strategy where he brings in all these new female Ferengis, and he puts new good regulations on the companies and things so that it's good. The unions aren't banned. It's good working regulations, all this kind of thing.
Right.
And it's a combination
Ferengi Federation.
And there's a combination of having a huge amount of new all this untapped resource, all these people that have probably been around their husbands, some quite rich businessman, knowing all of what they were doing. Suddenly he seemed to have a lot of insider knowledge of other companies, combined with new talent, really enthusiastic new staff. Enthusiastic new staff.
Brilliant.
Combined with the fact that he had now working practices whereby he could take contracts from the Federation, because the Federation doesn't have infinite manpower for transporting stuff. It's been shown to subcontract a little bit. I think there's like junkyards, that kind of stuff. That's the work that isn't going out there exploring and doing the bad things. They have people that do it, but they don't.
Someone's got to build the replicators.
And they've got stuff that Ferengi would want, Latinum. They don't do anything, use anything for it, and other resources and other things on those sort of lines. Yep. And also, they might, not important technologies, but they might trade a few technologies and things as well. Mm-hmm. And they're the only company that could get any contracts with the Federation. So, in the end, at this point, it's not quite a monopoly, but like 70.5% of like all financial things are owned by Lita Inc. Because Rob would name it after his wife.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And so what do you think?
I also quite liked the idea that, can you imagine the SOPs you'd need to have in place to get a Federation contract? You'd have to prove it. Can you imagine how long your equal opportunity and diversity policy would have to be?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
The Ferengi aren't part of the Federation. They've not joined the Federation.
Sure.
But a lot of them
are
are
a subcontractor of the Federation.
A lot of them are living in very good conditions because they're all employed by the company. They've got health benefits. Like I say.
Cool.
Sorry, am I allowed to
So it's
drop
basically
name?
the Federation's company and all that name.
Littering.
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, they like I say, they aggressively took other businesses as well, and they took other things. They do a lot of things. They're responsible for most of the services on Ferengi as well. Most of the medical stuff, most of the shipping stuff. I mean, there's a lot of holdouts. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
One bar on the station I wanted to call Emissary's Testament. For really just keeps on holding out.
Yeah.
Still all the old practices and stuff, but they're slowly growing and they're slowly down. It's like there's still got currency within the company, but it's when you're working for the company, you still get most things you want for free. And if you get injured or you're too old to work, they provide housing and all that kind of stuff, and still a wage.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, it's
He's taken over by just being good.
well, even in the most generous rule in the world, he's probably.
Oh, he's not. No, I know he's not.
But he's a figurehead, and everyone likes him.
Yeah, and he's like, oh.
He was never that stupid, really.
No, but he was never good at business.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
But yes, and I like to think that and his mother, even if anything, looks younger these days. Because there are some laws that still don't apply in the Federation, things such as rejuvenation treatments that would be illegal within for a Federation.
Absolutely.
And Zek's probably just having fun somewhere.
Yeah, right. So.
Yeah.
Well, he could have gone to the Baku.
Oh, to get your skin stretched. Oh no, that's the other one.
That's the sauna.
Yeah, it's only if you stay on the planet, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You could just
Nice
live
holiday.
there for a couple of 100 years. Play hacky sack.
So we meant before we start recording, we mentioned Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Is that going to be part of our timeline?
Why not?
Cool. It is, but I don't. The challenge with that is we don't know how that story ends,
No.
and like the mycelium network and all that stuff with their different propulsion system.
And as we're recording concurrently with the second season happening, it might at some point
Just
anything
go,
that we
we
assume
might
has
say,
happened.
and then we might go, oh, hang on, we missed the whole point of the first season. I don't know.
That was a point.
I liked it.
I liked it.
It's probably the best Star Trek series. Anyway.
All of you just dropped off. Stay with us. Stay with us.
Anyway.
No, Deep Space Nine.
But yeah, because we can't know how it would, we kind of have to assume the mycelium network isn't currently a thing that anyone really knows about, does anything with. Because there might be a different timeline, it might be classified, it might have all blown up. It's very hard to know.
The rest of the show won't really affect our show.
Unless we go mirror time, but
So-
even then it's still history.
What
Yeah.
about? Did we come to a decision on the end of Voyager?
Yeah, I think they got home. I think it's all. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it doesn't really
Can I
affect
make
much.
a
So
further
that means they blew up
suggestion
the
in
Human
that-
Matrix.
Well,
stuff.
so Voyager got home, and then the starship was promptly taken into custody by
By Section 31 or
No,
the Temple
Temporal
investigation
Investigations Team.
Yeah.
because of translated
So many breaks
torpedoes,
in the
the
timeline.
armor.
Oh, God, yeah.
Multiple.
All
yeah.
the advanced technology,
Yeah.
they basically went, no, it'd be in breach of,
All the temporal accords.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the ship you're currently going to be residing in has nothing to research from a small bit that was on there.
Don't know what you mean.
I'm sure none of that was back engineered to
Well,
the current level.
To be fair, anything that wasn't future tech, like all the Borg modifications that they got, could be
What,
implemented.
like the holographic emitter that was from 6 centuries. ahead.
No,
Sorry,
the
5.
Borg, all the Borg stuff.
That was a good episode 1, wasn't it? That Borg.
Oh,
the
yes,
29th
yeah.
century Borg.
He
That's
flew the cube into the sun.
And survived. Like, awesome. I am one. Yes.
They can be only.
Yeah.
I am the one only.
Okay, you're ticking off your list. What else you got on your list?
So, but yeah,
No.
related to that, holographic citizens. I mean, because the Doctor was recognised as a person. It's very hard to believe he wasn't recognised as a person when he got back.
Yeah.
It's the United Federation of Planets.
Yeah.
The
Do it.
whole idea is that everyone is
androids.
equal. You've got androids.
Yeah.
The androids.
Yeah,
One of the reasons the Doctor was recognised as a citizen was the fact that he had a lifespan. So I think that
What
They-
about all those ones digging in the mines?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Do they count?
But hang on.
But they're
He
switched on and off again.
was recognised as entity in his own right in Voyager because
Yeah.
of the whole.
Yes.
Writing stuff.
Yeah.
The
that's
holonovel
true.
thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so he was recognised, but all the other ones weren't. And
Yeah.
it
Maybe that's still going on. Maybe there's some leftovers of that, and that could be interesting
Well, now
for
that-
our ship. If
now
we
that he-
create a holographic, like, oh, everyone's knocked out, I need a holographic engineer. He was going to turn up and might be like,
Please
Well-
state the nature of the technical emergency.
Yeah. And please leave me on for more than 72 hours, and I get minor rights to another 72 hours. And then if I learn a musical instrument or write a novel, then I get to hang around.
So are they programmed with the motivation and drive to become?
Yeah, or someone's writing them so that they don't, and they're just like
That's-
faceless
That's
hologram.
what I was leaning towards. Was that to begin with,
We have to cut it out.
yeah, to begin with, they're sort of assuming that maybe
But
it's
even
illegal things.
exocomps are alive. They had a
But emergency personnel like that are just the ship's computer. They just talk the ship's
Yeah.
computer's voice. They're just controlled by them, and
Yeah.
they're kind of they're like
Okay.
a friendly
they're
looking
an
amorphous.
avatar of
Yeah.
a ship.
Yeah, exactly. They're
Okay.
just like hands of the ship, and the
Yeah.
ship has
Does
significant
the ship have rights?
significant sentience
That goes into
inhibitors.
the whole AI thing. And
She
let's not
certainly
go there
does.
yet.
But yeah, and I think that there's a lot of sentience inhibitor kind of things because
Yeah.
while the Federation is not, and there's probably people making holograms, but they don't think the best way of doing it is accidentally on a ship in the middle of a fight,
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
or like the Enterprise when they're in just some sort of like in the second to last episode of Next Gen where they're just flying through a cloud and the ship goes, "Wait, I want to have a child.
Yeah.
So,
I might blow up."
so yes, there are holographic rights, there are holographic citizens, but there are circumstances to that.
But there are levels of like awaken. There's like
Yeah.
they're like proper ones, or there's I'm an
Would
avatar
there
of a ship
be-
and just a holographic tool.
But, you know, there's
Holographic tool.
there's a test to test sentience and artificial intelligences. What's that called?
The
Turing
Turing test.
Would there be such a thing for holograms?
The Zimmerman test.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
could
like
be.
that. And then
The Zimmerman test.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
I had this on my list.
Okay.
the Zimmerman
Probably
test.
written by him, conceivably.
But he is the
Well-
father of holographic technology, is it? Of modern holographic.
It could well have
He
been
created
written.
the Doctor.
It
Yeah.
could well have been written by the Doctor in his honour and named by him. And
Yeah.
okay,
It could just be named after
This
him.
wasn't
He died. Didn't he die?
he was
No, he was
terminally
going to,
ill.
but the Doctor saved him.
Oh yes, of course.
Yes.
Of course. Because they sent him back through the
And
through the array thing.
the Herogen long range
Yes,
communications
network. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it was like you're not afraid of me, or your obsolete technology.
Yeah.
So yes, we have. Yeah, there's probably a bunch of Andy Dicks wandering around.
Let's just say they came up with like a random generator for exterior appearances. It's called Star Trek Online. Like really weird looking ones with pasties on their foreheads.
Yes, it's not entirely settled, but yes, currently they're mostly living with a certain level of rights. Like Data, he was never properly declared as a person. Really, he was just declared with self-determination.
Yes.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
Um,
And then he jumped into the warp core of the thingy and
But in canon with Nemesis, not Nemesis.
some extended books afterwards.
Yeah,
Is that canon now?
I thought.
B4.
Yeah, before basically the program, all Data's memories and everything, reasserted themselves over to B4's programming.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember. It might have even
It was
been.
kind of like, why have him jump into a warp core then? Because it's just like,
well, because it's like Spock.
it's not.
I
not.
think it was. I think it was to do with the 2009 reboot. There was like a prequel.
No, I know. They thought they were going to
It was a
do.
comic book series, wasn't it?
Yeah,
They
something
thought they were
like
going to do another film afterwards, didn't they? But it was just Nemesis was a
End of the
bomb,
Road.
and then they were like, yeah, okay.
I really enjoyed Nemesis.
Really?
Yeah.
It's nice to hear someone did. You didn't really. I'm glad that someone enjoyed it.
To be fair, it was like the Enterprise E, just we will fire everything in cool ways.
Yeah,
So I really
I
enjoyed it.
just felt the set for the interior of the Shinzon ship was like they just kind of painted the walls of a warehouse.
Well, I think that's because they had.
No, I know, but it was like some bits were really high quality, and then some bits where they're like the bit where they're running around fighting Remans on his ship, and it was like, are you at a paintball, indoor paintball? It looks a little bit. Anyway, Patrick Stewart's awesome as usual. You know,
He did his best.
is that the one with the baby's bottom?
Yes.
I like that bit.
No, that's
That's
I know that's
Insurrection.
Insurrection. Yeah, because he gets younger and
Insurrection.
no, it's not that. He shaves. He goes, smooth as a Andros behind, eh, Data? And then after the
Oh, yeah, he
finally goes,
I haven't watched that one in a while either.
Interaction, yes, it's a silly film, but at least it's fun.
Yeah.
You focus really hard. Anyway, sorry.
I quite enjoyed the interaction. It wasn't the most in-depth or emotional. It's weird that they made that as a film.
Just
but
the scene where they're escorting people through the mountains and they go, there are 5 drone things coming. Right, everybody, let's all split up for our one-on-one fights with the drones. Here's now a scene of me doing a roll. Special effect. And it was like, why have you got this scene in it?
Morpheus uses his rifle as a club for some reason.
Yeah.
they wouldn't let me bring my bat less.
Assimilate this. No, it's not as good as that.
No.
Anyway, sorry. There's going to be a lot of this.
Yeah.
First Contact was a good movie.
It
Oh,
was
yeah,
awesome.
First Contact was great.
First Contact
It was
was
awesome.
great.
And it had Lieutenant Hawk as well. It's a great name for a lieutenant.
To get killed and
Oh yeah, he got assimilated.
Hi, Lieutenant Hawk, you're new.
Yeah. Hi. I'm really looking forward to this. Okay, calm.
Do you have a first name, Hawk? No!
No. Yeah, it's Hawk.
It's so sad, but you can't tell them.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Can you just go through those doors?
What's this? All right. The captain and he's like, you got Picard and Worf with me. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
They always come.
Yeah. Oh.
Cool. Oh. So, so yeah, going through other civilization, do we assume Bajor's still integrating well? Nothing particularly weird's happened there. There's
I think
the
They
Federation
would be members.
still become fun religion times.
Mhm.
I think again, nothing's happened particularly anywhere. Like Vulcans are still Vulcans. Their planet hasn't been blown up because we're not in that timeline.
Nope.
So they're still happy.
Yep.
Same with Andorians, Trills, Bajorzoids.
Beta Stories would have had to have done a major reconstruction.
Yeah, because their planet got
they
absolutely
screwed
wiped.
into the war.
The Breen destroyed it, didn't they?
Yeah.
I was thinking, and I think I put a comment on Facebook the other day, that people like the Gorn and Orions would have capitalised on the disarray afterwards, and their little networks would be more extensive.
More piracy, perhaps.
The Orion Syndicate would have like
Expanded.
flood-
Yeah,
expanded.
absolutely.
If not like geographically, is that the right word? But definitely under
Spatially.
in the sea,
Spatially.
behind the scenes.
The black
all this,
markets are
black
stronger.
market.
More people need illicit goods. They can't survive. They're doing bad jobs.
I mean,
to
you
get
might
money and
not
survive.
see. They might not be flying around with their own massive fleet, but they're everywhere.
I'm
doing
imagining
everything.
there's a series of large debris fields where some of the most major battles took place that still haven't been completely cleaned,
Yeah.
where there could be still
Scavengers.
valuable technology from both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And you might even have Federation scientists there scouting through the remains of the Dominion
Bit
ships looking for...
True. Family show. No.
Well,
I think
I don't know,
the
just
language barriers already broken.
does
Yeah.
getting sucked out into space count as being cryogenically frozen?
Probably not.
I think all the allies would probably be searching those for debris fields for starships that they could possibly repair to reuse because, well, maybe not the Romulans by that time, but certainly the Klingons and the Federation, their fleets would have been screwed. So if they can find derelict ships and repurpose them from those scrapyards, they probably would.
Hey, look, that Galaxy-class saucer is still intact.
I think you mean that Nebula class starship is ready to go.
So you can cover themselves on that, and it's go time.
Yeah. You put them on top?
Right.
No, the shells run deep.
No, I know. You got it wrong.
Just turn it over. Let's
Yeah,
pass the
just flip it. Just flip
This is
it.
the one on top, one underneath.
Yeah.
That must be one. I don't
That is
remember.
one.
That's one.
Yeah.
Is it?
Isn't that the constellation?
I thought that two on the bottom and one on the top. Or was that
Not
different
over a
one?
Galaxy-class saucer.
No, just over a saucer. No, you're right, because the Galaxy class is like wider, isn't it? Not round, not
Yeah.
perfectly circular. It's an
The
oval.
Constellation had was pair down, pair up.
Oh yes, it was 4, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
4 nacelles. That's just greedy.
That was one overconfident ship.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you could be the USS Prometheus and have 6.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
at least that had a reason.
That was
behind
another.
it.
Yeah.
Did it?
Did it?
Well, it's split up into 3.
Yeah, split up into 3 things, and you had to have one person on the ship go attack the Romulans, and you took out 3 Deterrence class cruisers. Yeah. Anyway,
That was a fluke. They were lucky.
Prometheus is always gonna. Yeah.
It's because it was Andy Dick. That's why Andy Dick is in
Oh, yeah,
command of
yeah.
many vessels today.
yeah, the emergency command hologram.
Oh dear
I
lord.
like that episode where he's having those dreams, those daydreams and stuff.
And they think it's real.
Yeah.
I'm the photonic cannon.
Yeah.
Don't make me ask you again.
That's really good. Any more?
Yes. What do you think about the Tellarites? Because they always get. No one cares about the Tellarites.
Well, they're still part of the Federation, aren't
They're
they?
a founding
founding-
member.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but no one cares about them. The poor Tellarites. They're the ugliest
Do you want me to
Federation
play a
member.
Tellurite? I can argue with everyone.
I just feel
Would you
sorry
like a
for them.
stool?
I just feel sorry for them.
Um,
They're the unappreciated one. They're just Andorians, remember, because they got their blue and the little antennae, but no one cares about the Tellarites.
Also-
Well, they were in Enterprise a lot.
and,
you know, they're
and
quite
they've been
good
in
at
the latest episode.
Wasn't that also- Jeffrey Combs.
Who's the Andorian?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, wasn't it?
Well.
Yes, with the.
With the good antenna. Yeah, yeah. It's a guy with like a big rig.
No, I
I thought
think
they were CG.
Didn't he lose one? Or
No,
something?
they were animatronic.
Were they?
Yeah, they were,
Neat.
they were in their headset.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
guy's a trooper.
Tellarites are very good at arguing. They're very good politicians. The current president of the United Federation of Planets is a
Big
Tellarite.
There we go.
Yes! I love it, Dan. Really
Let's
good.
go for some Tellarites.
That's good.
Mr. President.
No. Do you think the Tholians have been doing anything? I was interested in the Tholians.
Oh, who knows? They're
Exotic.
yeah. Yeah,
So crazy, the Tholians.
randomly powerful or not, depending on
I-
which
I
show
know,
you're
I
in.
never really understood the Tholian.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's the whole point of them, though, isn't it? They're just
I think it's
bizarre.
Yeah.
suspicious that no one has heard a thing out of them.
Ah, that's good.
Like they've
Like
been
it.
Suspiciously quiet.
Yeah, like
since the end of the
not
war. Nothing.
where are these Tholians?
Mm.
I think the curtains come away slightly from them. No, other side of the. If you pull it flush to the.
Wasn't
Yeah, there you go.
weren't they like
Helps you stay warmer.
in communication with their mirror universe counterparts as well?
Were they? Oh, that was an interesting.
Oh, yeah, that was an Enterprise. I don't know. We don't know what they're
They
doing.
might be multi-dimensional entities. It's very hard to tell because there's no point we can't like talking to people.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So that's most of the civilizations I think covered.
Mm.
So technology, obviously holographic ships.
Yep.
New thing.
Yep.
Do we think anything else has changed? So transporters. This is the most important question that we're going to answer tonight.
Okay.
What does the transporter effect look like?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Is it an up and downy thing, or is it a sidey in and out?
Wavy thing, or it's
Up and downy thing.
still sparkly,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Still a tumble
It could
dryer
be,
with
it
your
could be
lights.
like a phasing thing. Go,
Oh.
I like that. We like that.
That's cool. I like that, but with a shimmery.
Obviously with a shimmer. It's got to be
yeah, like shimmer, shimmer, shimmer,
Middle. Yeah,
and then at the other end it's like someone's beaming in. Shimmer, shimmer, shimmer. Whoop.
I think
I like it.
it's an important question to ask though, because is the range of transporters has it extended at all?
I don't know because it was always a bit vague exactly how good the Dominion
Depends if you're
transporters
watching
were.
a film, or whether you're watching the show, or what the
It's more-
plot is doing.
Well, I mean, it's posited because at one point the Dominion could have transporters that go over light years.
Yes.
Mm.
Does the Federation got that? I mean, I honestly wasn't sure. I mean,
I don't think
I would suspect
system-to-system transporters has become a thing.
Well,
No.
hang on.
But
The
only
Federation
through-
could be in the process of rebuilding its long-range communication network, and those could be now up to date and technologically advanced enough that they can support the bandwidth of a transporter beam.
It's something they're thinking about
Possible.
bringing in the not too distant future.
Maybe they're about to test something.
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Because of all the, is it?
I mean,
what's the array in Voyager?
Argus array.
The Argus array. Maybe that experience with the Voyager meant that they've
Because
kind
they
of.
could send an EA mate for
Yeah,
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
if they can
cool.
send if they can send us data schematic that dense, it's been 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if computers are still advancing the same rate they are now, you must be able to send a person via transporter beam.
So
I mean,
the-
I mean,
There has been a big period of recovery, though, hasn't there?
Yes, but
So-
they'll be rebuilding and going,
Absolutely,
adding
yeah.
new technology
Sure,
into
sure.
everything they're
Yeah.
rebuilding.
Yeah.
And the Federation, what is it? So it's 1,000 planets over. Was it 8,000 light years?
Mm.
It's humongous.
So
It's
that's
huge.
that's
So
what,
they may-
eight years
so
to
actually-
get across.
Yeah, actually,
rather
it
than-
may be like really useful for them in the repair efforts to try and do long-range transporters.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like
Yeah, I know that
edge
they're
case, just coming in.
just coming in and
I don't think
not on
everything
ships
will
and
have like
things
gone
yet, no.
in 20 years, but
Or there's like the central part of the Federation around Earth. You can use the long-range transporters to get out to additional major.
centres,
Centres.
and
Major
then,
hubs
and then
and
get your
then-
ships out from there.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, we're happy with that. I mean, it does change the sort of the view of it a lot.
I don't think we've got like a long range transporter on the ship.
No.
You know, or the
Well.
arrays.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Give us 5
all the
episodes.
kit, like easy. You know, if we spent 5 episodes building it, then yes. You know,
at the moment, I think the
Simulate.
at the moment
Or
that
program
sort of
simulation.
technology would be from a planet like Earth to say Vulcan.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where you've got major
Oh, you go
civilizations.
I'm going to go to Vulcan for lunch.
Yeah. Oh my god! How many of your transporter credits are you using up? I'm using up a whole year's worth of transporter credits, but it's worth it. See you in a year.
Again, a really good lunch.
Awesome. Diplomac soup is fantastic.
Well, hang on.
At the end of
Isn't
the Federation.
in galactic terms, isn't Vulcan only literally
it's
like
It's Central
half an hour.
Eridani, isn't it?
half an hour?
It's not far.
Bad. So at the moment,
That very-
it's the core kind of
Vulcan is
We're
under
the
core
construction.
world.
core 5, like so Andoria, Vulcan, Earth,
They would have built
Telar,
one on Beta Z.
Beta, like the big ones.
They'll have
Yeah.
done it on Beta Z first,
Just
from
so
there,
they kind
to
of-
repair it, I reckon,
Yeah,
and then
that
maybe
seems
from
reasonable.
there.
Yeah.
That was the priority.
Do you reckon they'll have one on Deep Space Nine?
It's a small
Emissary
space
Testament.
station. It's a small space
It's-
station. It might not be big enough.
But maybe they've retrofitted something.
It's far out. I mean, it is a deep space station.
But it is like the gateway to the Cardassian rebuilding effort and the doorway to the Gamma.
They may
Quadrant.
have built one on Bajor rather than
Yeah,
the
yeah.
station.
That's
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah,
And that was part of the whole. Maybe Bajor like worked some
Yeah.
diplomatic stuff to get a long range
Where-
transporter
where-
built on their
'cause
planet.
That's
Right,
all. That's all the
am
way out
I-
here. Isn't
Am
it?
I being silly
Nine.
asking would they be able to transport a spaceship?
I think that's probably a bit.
That's,
A bit too far.
that's a lot of data,
Ooh,
I think.
We're not at.
beam an entire spaceship.
That's
With
a lot
things
of
in
data.
it, with people in it.
Yeah,
No, I don't
we're
think they
just
do that.
pushing
I think-
the envelope to see how.
No,
far
you
we
send the
can.
people. You send the people separately.
Yeah.
But
In
even
ships.
then-
No, because at that point you basically we're talking the scale of planetary industrial replicators.
Yeah.
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 On
And
the
I
other
don't
end.
think. I don't think that's.
Yeah, so
I
people.
I expect the
yeah,
energy
okay.
scale
There
probably
we go.
goes up,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the
Exponential
core has just collapsed. We've just sucked all the geothermal energy out of the planet to send the Enterprise G up to.
Why? We beamed a starship.
Yeah,
You haven't,
because we could.
you haven't built enough planetary generators.
Yeah.
What's that game?
Oh.
Starfleet. No.
I can't remember.
Or
Anyway,
something.
well, it'll come to us. Cool.
Okay, now at this point it feels a bit
Star
strange.
Trek Armada.
No.
Still have feels strange to still have a transporter bay. I mean, because they do point-to-point transporting all the time.
Yeah.
It's easier to do it from the bay, but I mean, is there a point? to
I
having
think
it?
there's one on the emergency part of the ship
Yeah.
in case there's problems with power. You know, annular confinement beams.
But there
That
needs
kind
to
of thing.
be a place where the actual things are stored.
Yeah.
They could just be built into the infrastructure of the
Because
ship.
Yeah.
the transporter is where
But
the stuff that scans.
it's
Yeah, it doesn't
matter to
decontamination.
charge.
It's decontamination.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
that-
Yeah.
And
Your
it's also,
Heisenberg compensator.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's also
to some
security.
extent.
And security.
Yeah,
No,
'cause
that is a very good
you know
point.
where they're coming into a room.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
but they can come in if they can transport
You
to
could
the
beam
transport bay.
them-
They can go anywhere, basically.
I think you'd have a bay. I don't think you'd have 10 transport or a transport bay on every
I just think the
floor.
point-to-point's probably the common way now, unless you think,
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
you. The problem is that the part of the Star Trek fantasy is going to we're going in the away mission down to the transporter bay.
Yeah.
Transporter chief, beam us
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
We don't want to destroy that, but
Yeah.
it just seems at this point. Why,
But it's like a landline, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you still have that.
You still got one.
Yeah.
The old
You need
people
to have one.
go down to the
You know,
bay.
there's an old admiral who will not do point cyclophobic transport. He will only transport into a transporter bay because he knows it's all fine. and don't take him on any holographic
What
parts of the ship.
what
He's
about-
scared.
Hold on.
Well, and,
No, no.
everyone's got like their dad won't use them.
Exactly. Yeah.
No. What about all those transport chiefs you're putting out of a job?
That's true.
Well, they still have to maintain it.
Do
And
it
look
all
after
the
it.
All those chief petty operators.
it.
Yeah, right.
They just have to live in main engineering like everyone else. I used to have my own room.
I kept the radio on. It
That's
was
a chief of the
brilliant.
whole room. of a module. Lives in a Jeffries tube.
I can't, replicators, I assume, you can't think much more of replication.
No,
They're just
They're already-
they're amazing.
nothing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
out of energy. Not out
Yeah.
of nothing,
Well,
but out of nothing. Yeah.
Wasn't there don't they need some sort of it's almost like deuterium mix to create the matter out of it? It's not just energy. They have to use some sort of
I don't know. I
I
think
might be wrong there.
I think it's just energy. But what about medical replication technology?
that was always a bit
Like,
variable anyway. That
you're
was-
put inside a chamber and they replicate an organ inside your body as part of you.
That would need transport technology
As well. Yeah, but it's like a fusion. I mean,
Or-
replicators
Are
are
transporters anyway.
transporters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially.
well, it's a bit vague because it's suggested in some episodes of
No,
early
there
Next Gen
are-
they
there
did
are-
it anyway.
They don't with Picard, do they?
No,
Yeah, but that was
but he died. He got stabbed many years
that
ago.
was yeah,
That's true.
X many years.
Oh, and they
prior
do
to
say they're going to
being
beam his. Don't they say they're going to beam it out? Or
I
something?
thought that was a Wolf one, wasn't it?
Well, there was the Wolf
Feeding
Spine
him
one,
his spine,
but he was supposed to be very tricky.
That's
Lost
but
front
no,
of the
that's a
barrel.
cutting edge technique, and the Doctor. There's a part of it's like a moral ethic thing, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like you're just doing it to prove your new technique works. So the transporter thing then is new. So I think
'Cause-
maybe that's
Well, it's
When I
20
read
years on it.
Up
yeah.
at
So
the
now,
no,
it
yeah,
will be more commonplace. So
But-
maybe not transporters itself,
yeah.
but the way they're accepted and used
Mhm.
might be a bit more.
I tell you
prolific.
what hasn't featured much previously in Star Trek is we've got all this advanced technology. What about nanotechnology? Or is that too
Oh.
Borg?
It's too Borg.
But
I
Voyager-
think-
Voyager's
Well,
got
there's
now.
two. I mean,
Yeah,
there's-
but it got confiscated by the temporal accord
Yes.
people.
yeah.
But it was still.
And just everything else seemed to just disappear. Someone in a black uniform with a
If I,
Badge
yeah, if
turned
I,
up.
can, if I can add to that point, so there's probably like two kind of underlining things within the Federation why there's a lack of transhumanism.
right.
The Borg
Yep.
for your cybernetic implants and Carl
Sing.
Union
Yeah.
Sing.
Sing.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they were
That
just getting over
massive
it. They're like,
history.
no, maybe we should have a go at this. And then the
Every-
poor go.
Yeah.
No.
So there's just a kind of underlying paradox. It's
Yeah.
a really, we can't go down
Yes,
that way.
it's-
Well, they're
There's
going
lots
to do
of
it for,
identity in the self, isn't it? So it's like,
Yeah.
that's what it's all.
So that's why there's not sort of more in the way of transhumanism. But what about AI?
Well, again, I think you
the
can make.
ship is pretty much.
Well, again, I think it's probably got. They don't want a sentient ship.
No, they
'cause-
don't. They make them so they're not.
Yeah, quite
I think
deliberately
that's
so.
it, yeah.
But I think there are
There'll
people
be
making
some,
sentient holograms and sentient androids. I think that there's a lot
Sentient-
more of those.
Machines on planets somewhere to like run a complex facility. You know.
Okay.
But they count as people. But yeah,
Yeah.
but they've got
Yeah.
jobs. Yeah. I like the idea of settlement management computer that's got
Feed you
its commander
data
computer. I
bits.
think you'll find.
So, for example, the giant computer on Memory Alpha could be an AI.
Maybe.
Don't know. Is it? It could be. I mean, what do we
It's
think?
a giant library, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's just a giant library.
It could be either. I mean,
Could be a bit of both.
Mm.
Could be an intelligent computer rather than an AI.
we can decide if we go there.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that'll be the theme of an episode. The
Mhm.
ship's computer comes alive, and no, we've done
No,
that
shut
a
it
million times.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the crux of the campaign, is it?
So part of this goes back to the hologram ship. I had three sort of layers of protection from people just being left empty, dying in space when the hologram goes out.
Cool.
So you've got the debt, the sort of the persistent
Durable energy template.
indeed energy. Then I think the other again, is there an obvious idea why this isn't the case? Why aren't right? Because the turbo lifts the escape pods.
As well.
Yeah.
We're not instead.
Well, I was gonna say, we're not interested. You're not
That would be amazing. Yeah. So go in now and don't get them. Don't tell them. Like the newbie. Yeah. Oh yeah, see you on the bridge. Why aren't you coming on the thing with me? Oh no, you go first and catch you up.
My shoelaces.
Yeah.
Wasn't there
They could be.
In
Well,
the
it's
latest Star Trek movie, weren't some of them trapped in the?
Well, it's just I was thinking.
Turbo. I don't know. When it got blown up. Am I making that up? Don't know.
They seem self-contained. You could just add all the stuff like the subspace communicator, all that
Absolutely.
stuff to the turbolifts. And when you go to the escape pods, you go to the turbolift first. So and they're already propelled, so they could just shoot them out of the ship. It just seemed like a.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
I like it.
It wouldn't surprise me. It already is a thing. It's just that
It's somewhere on a.
Yeah, I just hadn't heard of it before. I was just kind of
as
turbolyfts are
someone-
probably real and not hologrammatic.
As someone who spends a great deal of their time
Thinking about lifts.
performing safety inspections on lifts, no.
Yeah, I'll press the wrong button.
People will
why?
do stupid things.
Only in the case of a all hands can that happen. Like kind of thing.
Then
All hands
why
about the
aren't
ship.
there enough escape pods?
There are. They are the turbo lifts.
Yeah.
We're saving money.
And it's a holographic lifts.
I know.
the
That's
escape pods, the turbo lifts being the escape pods, are the last escape pods to be used.
I would think that there
Well, it's
wouldn't be enough turbo lifts to escape all of the crew.
But why? They're the same size.
Also, they're holographic.
No, because you'd have.
Well,
like
no, I think the
four-
turbolifts will be real. That's the thing. Because they'll have to be real, because they'll go in and out of the thing, and you still need to use them if you've only got the non-holographic hull. And
But you'll
so
have
they go out,
holographic tubes that they go down.
Yeah.
Cool. Like it. So in that case, I think they could be. I don't think it's going to be a huge.
There
crew,
are
is it?
there are still going to be enough lifeboats
Yes.
for the entire crew complement.
Yes.
But then
Also, in a state of a.
They'll be.
we've
jet
been
failure.
shot by lots of torpedoes,
Yes.
and some of our because the escape pods never get hit by torpedoes.
No, I know. No one
Well,
ever blows up the
well, that's
escape
the other
pods.
reason is that you can have
It's
escape pods on the
hard to
inside as opposed to on the outside where they can get blown up.
Yeah,
And,
nicely lined up with like
And when-
numbers on them.
and when you've got the holographic ship, where do you put the escape pods? Because they can't be
That's true.
holographic.
Yeah.
So you put them on the holographic
Okay.
hull, but what if
Yeah.
the holographic things still function? You can't launch them because they'll hit the ship. And
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it. I
Yeah.
like it. Yeah.
can you, unless you can think of a real
A
reason.
safety reason. Hey, remember at Star Trek?
If people are stupid, it doesn't work anymore. They're not.
This is true. And people are kind and caring and follow the rules.
And don't press the escape pod button for funsies.
It's got a little hologram over it. So you can't see it. But it's there. You know, you lean.
Little tiny force field too.
Somebody's pressing the button again.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's like, and then it just takes you straight to the brig.
To the captain's quarters. But then, no, that's cool. Because then you can have like a fully morphing interior transit system in the ship.
Yeah.
And the turbolift could take you to any room, not just the ones with doors on them.
Unless there's people walking down that corridor
Yeah, well, of
in
course.
that room.
Yeah, yeah.
And also you're walking along and you're in a turbolift shaft and you see the lift coming like,
What? Of course.
That's why
Just like a turbo lift pops out the wall, hits you in the face.
Windscreen wiper.
That will only happen when the Ferengi board the ship and start hacking the system.
or you go through a phenomenon.
Yeah,
I think for safety reasons, they mostly, still go down pre-designated routes, mostly, I think.
sure.
Because there's also the energy will be running through it, there'll be people in rooms. And they could occasionally go through walls and
Yeah,
stuff.
pre-existing routes, but you could, in emergency, go,
Yeah.
quick, get a pod here now,
Yeah.
and it could come through. You could realign the parts of the ship. The pod could come, you could get in it, and then escape.
Oh, God, I hope
Yeah.
we get the programming right. Don't need a lift.
The third
I need another one.
the third level of protection that I like the idea of was the communicator
Mhm.
could actually act as an emergency force field. So if you kind of press it, click it, and it goes an emergency bubble.
Triple click.
Yeah, or something. Well, there's a button on the back or something, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
What happens if you're asleep in the holographic hull and everything goes wrong?
hopefully the alarmy noises.
The computer knows
What
that
if you're
4 members
unconscious?
of crew.
Well, like most unconscious people in the event of a ship destruction or significant
dead.
difficulty, like the area you are,
Yeah.
the area
What
you're
happens
being
if someone blows up
breached.
the ship and you're asleep in the ship and they shoot a torpedo into the side
Frankly,
of your,
what are you
your
doing
room?
asleep in the middle of a battle anyway?
or unconscious? I mean, unconscious is
What's
just
duty?
unwell.
The
Unconscious.
ship might try and beam you to a safer place.
Yeah, I was going to say it does have emergency transport to try to get you back.
The data's emergency transporter, the prototyping.
Those things.
Mm.
Yeah.
You put them in a gun. Sorry, some sort of dart launcher. No guns.
We'll look out the window.
Oh, gosh.
Yes, other than that, I couldn't see a way of making communicators any more particularly.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Other than
They can be holographic too.
Because remember, you have to make sure the communicator has the room to be fiddled with to
Yeah.
become any other device it needs to become.
I was thinking, it comes with a little. You know how like
A
with
little
phones
pin.
and stuff, you get like a flashy looking paperclip tool.
Yes. Absolutely.
I like the idea it comes with.
No,
all
they
that
just come out of a boot or a belt or anywhere. There's always like someone's always got like a little.
I thought it was the
1-inch
clip on the
metal-
back.
I
thought you-
clip.
I
It's got like a
Yes, but no.
Star Trek
but-
adhesive.
like that.
It's all like the prop clip, the prop like clip pin, and they're just like the actors going yeah.
breaking the
Just film
fourth
it. Just
wall.
keep filming. Yeah.
I mean,
It should
essentially,
have like the
'cause it
thing
won't-
that
it
pops
won't-
out of your phone when you get it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, you keep that in the box that the phone came in,
No,
in
Yeah.
your
it can
cupboard
have but it
somewhere.
can have a little bit.
So why can't it just have one slotted in the back?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it pops
Like a
out
little mini stylus type thing
Yeah.
pop out.
for turning the communicator
Cool.
into anything.
Oh, hello.
So, well, the symbol is shown in flash forwards in All Good Things and in
Got a
Timeless.
square.
Is
rather
the-
than- yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we
Cool.
happy with that? This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
what it's shown to be roughly.
Yeah.
Around here, so
The thingy with funny
I
trapeze.
don't know if you'll be able to tell. Oh no, you can see it quite well
I've-
actually. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I played Star Trek Online. I'm aware of like all of them. So
So that's good. I will try and source that symbol then for some of our things.
Can I ask a
it's
question then? in relation to that?
future
Sure.
combat.
What
I
would
think
the
it's
uniform look?
Well, that was actually what I was going to move on to next. Yes. What uniforms?
I really like the late Deep Space Nine ones.
So
the
do
Nemesis
I.
ones. I think they look really cool, and maybe like a slight change on those. But I think they
Well, one thing I did want to change on the
with like a
uniforms.
cape.
No,
No, yeah, we've got a little sailor style beret now.
Yeah.
It's a naval unit. So
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
In the colour of your.
You've got the next gen future ones that are also the pips
Yeah.
with the bars behind them.
Yeah, I like the
I
one
prefer
that
the other
Geordie
one.
had.
Yeah, I like the other one.
I like the other one. It looks futuristic and outliney.
Yeah,
Um,
nice.
but yeah,
That's
uniforms. Well, one of the things I do want to have with
Yeah.
uniforms is
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Do not put your phone near the
Oh
microphone.
yeah.
Try and put it nearer the camera.
Yes, this
Right,
just
I
Wi-Fi.
will source an image and we'll sort that out.
But I think that at least one thing uniform should have is you should have a symbol for your role
Yes.
as well as the colours. Because I always thought that was weird. It was just the
So,
colour.
yeah, original
no,
series. had a
colourblind
symbol.
people-
Yeah, original series
Yeah.
and the classic
Your badge
movies had a
had a-
symbol.
But it's weird that they didn't because like, colourblind people, you'll just have to guess, mate.
All within the badge. That was
Within the badge,
Yeah.
they had like a little sub symbol.
Yeah, we could do either of those.
Yep. Yeah.
Command was like a plus sign.
And
One was a weird
little
scorpion.
circly thing.
That's what that was science.
Science or science and
It's a little
medical?
planetary thing, wasn't it? The
Was it?
science one. I don't
But
know.
it's just a swirly doodle.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
thought it was
in
like
the
a-
badges in the
Well,
original
swirly,
series.
swirly.
Yeah.
So in the centre of the outline thing, they could be like a little.
Yes.
So the
Yeah.
uniforms were doing very similar to the last episodes of Deep Space Nine.
But that's like I say, that's what the,
And that
Yeah.
badge
that's
has
what
got
that's the
the
one
swirly symbol in it.
that Geordie's wearing in this one, in fact.
Yeah. I
What
like the
year-
way
do we
he's
know
sitting,
what
like
year-
slightly like.
Do we know what year
Yeah.
he's?
Gonna fuck you up.
Well, this
That's
is
when they're in
time-
the ice.
This is timeless, yeah. When the Voyager's
Actually,
stuck
a
underneath the ice.
cracking episode
Yeah,
of Voyager.
basically Voyager's stuck between the ice. So Carrie Kim has gone all grim and dark in the future.
I'm Dark Harry Kim.
He
I'm
is.
grim.
So, yeah, but
Good man, you don't
do we know what year
pain
that
I've
is?
suffered.
It's around now, I think.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
20,
90 something.
Okay, well then that makes sense.
Like I say, the other options were yes, the all good things ones, which is just sort of a brightly coloured tunicky kind of
Yeah,
thing, which I
yeah.
looked like they were a bit short on.
No,
I quite like them, but
I don't.
I
Is
think
that-
again,
is that
Again,
the
they
one
look
with his
like
dad?
shit pajamas.
always a fine line for.
I actually like the new ones in Discovery. The reimagining of the original ones.
Yeah, I like them.
I thought they looked wicked.
Yeah.
They're very bright.
And they missed an opportunity to actually adopt them in the show rather than the crap. I hate the uniforms in Discovery.
Really?
But anyway, I quite
Why doesn't the sports top say "very" on the back?
yes. I know.
Last night, yeah.
I know.
Pete hadn't seen it, noticed.
I
at all.
didn't notice that.
What?
In Discovery, the exercise T-shirts they've got, which then, or
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
informal T-shirts, but they've got like they're liveried for the ship, so they say disco,
Disco.
on the
Yeah.
front.
But not very on the back.
I
But
love
they
that.
don't
And I
say
said,
that.
and I said, then you'd be very disco.
Exactly. Which also means that there are Enterprise ones that probably say enter.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
They were banned once Kirk took them.
Okay, we can use the DS9 ones if that's what people.
Yes.
That's 5. When did Voyager get back? 2375, same time then.
77, I think.
Okay, so
Yeah, a
it
couple of years after the
was
war.
2 years ago.
Okay. Cool. So relevant.
This is-
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's still wearing the same uniform. So.
Just
But
well,
they're all fast
but
forwards,
like
they're all
so-
guesswork, so
yeah. It's a possible future.
Exactly. I mean, Voyager did get home, so that one definitely did exist.
That's the one I use in mine. I'm sorry.
And you've got,
The timeless timeline.
have you got, well, it got home, but much later, didn't it?
Yeah, well, no, they just crashed in an ice planet. That's
Yeah,
what-
but Harry
that's-
Kim got home.
Yeah, I know.
That's why you get angry
And
Harry Kim.
Chakotay and
Yeah.
what was it?
Yeah.
Because they're on the Death's Flight,
Yeah.
and they get home using that.
Yeah. Voyagers didn't go. Anyway, so.
Yes. So you have angry Harry Kim in you. Or you're-
Yeah, absolutely. He's out there running the Orion Syndicate.
Good old angry Harry Kim. By the way,
If it was like,
The bit that I got,
everyone I know has died.
Yeah.
I'm like,
bad man.
yeah. It was like, oh, and you know, an interesting Chakotay for one episode, and then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
There's
Go back to-
there's the bit
go
in
back
that
to
opposite
plans,
where they're just
cardboard cutout.
making
Yeah.
small talk and the doctor's standing there with something in his hand. I must have seen that episode 2 or 3 times before I realised it's part of 7 of 9's head.
yeah.
One of the most unlikeliest Starship relationships to happen, I think, in Voyager. Like the last few episodes, suddenly him and
Seven
Simon
of Nine.
start getting together. You're like, where did that
It-
come
out
from?
of the blue,
There's
it's like,
nothing.
Yeah, can we
No
write
clue.
something for Chakotay? Maybe you
In
get
the last
lucky with
four
Seven of Nine.
episodes.
Fair play.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, why not?
like I
Haven't
say,
got enough
I've seen.
episodes to do anything really interesting. So
Harry
let's
Kim
go.
said missed his opportunity, didn't he?
So what's new?
Is that the one where 7 of 9 goes, remove your clothes?
Yeah. She looks him up and down and is like, you look like you'd be a good partner. Take your clothes off. And he's like, runs away.
So, tricorders.
Yep.
Still big bulky things.
No,
Are they just holographic
oh,
projections for the
man.
communicator? I mean, what are these? What are we at?
I would
Smartphones? Are we
Say, I would say still have a flippy thing because you've got to have a flippy thing.
right?
But
And
a
you
lot,
have communicators anymore.
That's a core thing of Star
a
Trek.
lot thinner.
Yes.
Yeah,
More like
thinner,
Motorola.
almost
Motorola
razor.
razor.
Yeah.
I had a
More
razor.
like- more
It was
like-
beautiful. But you do that and it's got holographic.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
yeah,
propulsion.
yeah,
yeah.
So it's like thinner, flippy
Like that.
thing, but holographic.
Yeah.
Yes, nice.
Yeah.
Good. That's what.
And some of the holographic bit looks a bit like Ziggy
No,
from Quantum Leap. The little
just having to whack it and it makes a noise.
cues and things.
You,
Just
you
bang,
can
bang,
do
bang, bang.
yours of
No,
that.
it's all that fish avatar they had in the school. The national fish to Hawaii.
It still has to have buttons for when you're in stealth mode and you can't be doing with a giant bright hologram. It's like,
Oh yeah.
so it's going to
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Like that.
That's when he got killed by the angry criminals.
Is your checklist finished?
My checklist is finished.
Okay, cool.
I
I
don't
love the
know.
fact that you came to the game with a checklist.
I didn't know we were supposed to have a checklist. I'd have probably
No,
made
no.
a checklist.
I
I literally
got a
read
little
that entire
excited.
book cover to cover.
Yeah.
Like I say, well, I was running it, so I thought I should. Shuttles, I assume, are just still shuttles. I can't remember
Yeah,
anything.
you've
Just
got to
shuttles.
have
They're
some
boring.
Just like the
redundant,
advancement
safe.
of technology.
Yeah, they're better shuttles, but they're
and they look nicer.
I'd like to renumber warp a bit, otherwise we're going to be going at warp 9.99995 or similar, because
Sure.
they were getting a bit silly with the point nines even on like Voyager.
Let's go to warp 10.
Well, we can either just rescale it so that
Or,
Yeah, it gets
or-
rescaled every time.
It was all good things, was Warp 13, wasn't
Yeah. But then shortly after that, they'll go, you know what, we have to scale it back. 'Cause
well,
This
they could
is
have just
silly.
they should just be going to warp numbers between the
We could-
20s, the theoretical
What
max.
about
Okay,
the
we can do that.
particle?
Should we do that?
Or we could have just rescaled 10. I'm fine, but
What about transport?
No, let's do higher numbers. That
Let's
sounds
do
cool.
higher numbers.
Warp
It sounds
15.
better.
exactly.
Yeah.
What about transwarp?
it? Yeah, I mean, we are get. It was getting to the point where ships were getting that fast.
But that's
What about quantum slipstream?
Yeah, there is slipstream drive, which was
Which was
obtained,
cool.
which was
was
obtained
that
by
called?
Voyager.
And they used it
Legitimately.
intermittently. Yeah, and they used it intermittently to get home. Helped them, didn't it? They shaved like loads
30
of
years.
Yeah.
yeah, but it's just faster warp, really, isn't it?
It is. But it's
It
better.
looks a bit different, and it's called a bit different, but it'll
Yeah.
still be probably.
Like
They'll
a
probably
big
be.
tunnel rather than a.
And depending on your ship, it's got like a 30-second cooldown.
So what, it didn't-
Yeah.
It didn't create a warp field, it created a warp tunnel? What?
It was a
warp
quantum
field.
tunnel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Quantum tunnel.
it's essentially short range transport without the pre-placed conduits.
Basically.
Okay.
So
So we're doing that, or
I'm fine with that.
high
I
what
would suggest that because our ship is holographic and a lot of energy is used to maintain that, we can only use it in short bursts.
Sure.
So, like you say, there's like a cooldown recharge. You know, we have to. It's
you're not supposed to hold the turbo down. It's for short boosts only.
and that'll work. A little bit of quantum slipstream,
Mm-hmm.
jazz it
So,
up a bit.
so yeah, you have a turbo, right?
Yeah,
And you have
Yeah,
nitrous.
let's go quantum.
Do we care what happened with the Enterprise F? Was it destroyed in some sort of fight with the Romulans?
I think we
Is it
just
classified?
don't know. It could be
it's missing in
classified.
action.
Oh, it's just gone. Yeah,
It's
it went somewhere. Or I tried one of these experimental drives. And it's not seen again.
Yes, I had one of the new concepts
It's probably-
too.
it's probably half phased through an asteroid somewhere.
It's a big question.
Enterprise F and its crew are missing.
Yeah, but have been
MIA.
for some years
Yeah,
at
for the
this
last
point.
5 years.
Yeah, that would explain why there's
7.
been a gap.
5 years.
I think Dan knows where it's going.
Yeah,
with that one.
so yeah, it's gone missing for. No one knows where it is. What's
Mhm.
happened? They have been classified missing in action.
Yeah, MIA. A few years, right? Okay. Big question about the ship. Actually, we'll wait till see if Pete can come back to this point. So, does it have some sort of 10 forward?
Yes. It's got to have a bar.
Just as an
11
idea.
Sorry.
11 forward.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a 10 forward, but I mean,
Well,
in
10
theory,
forward was only called 10 forward because that was literally the section of the ship it was in.
I
Deck 10 forward section.
I think
13 port.
I think as amazing as holographic technology is and replicators,
Mhm.
the sentient consciousness will always want for the actual real thing.
Mhm.
So the sight, the smell, the texture, the taste. You can only go so far with holographic technology. So somewhere on the ship there is a bar with real drinks, real smells of burnt food, real, that sort of thing, and that is somewhere on the ship and might likely be on the actual material side of it rather than the holographics bit of it.
I'm okay with that. So, like 1/3 of our hull's a bar.
Yeah.
Well,
What's the crew complement?
Well, that was the big question I was going to be coming up with. So,
Are we talking holographic size? Are we talking Enterprise E size, Galaxy class size?
what, are there families aboard?
Yes.
That's the sort of big difference between enterprises, at least the recent
Were
ones.
there on E?
Nope,
No.
No, there weren't.
but the one on tape.
But they weren't.
but there were indeed.
I don't think.
But the episode of Enterprise, the Enterprise TV series, when they go into the far future and they're on that Starfleet vessel that's bigger on the inside, and they say it has a whole university on board and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That
Is
had
the-
families on.
Yes,
but
that's
we are
Enterprise
very-
J, I believe.
We are
Yeah,
very,
that's
we are
Enterprise
very
J.
much. We are very much smaller on the outside rather than.
Yeah.
On the inside, yeah.
Yes, you
I think-
you don't bend space there.
Not yet, but I think
Well, other than warp. But...
it Enterprise D had family on it. There was an episode, Cisco had family on that Miranda class that he was on before Deep Space Nine.
The Farragut.
Yeah. I think that's a kind of Federation Starfleet thing.
It is, but what kind of ship? I mean, this is a mostly holographic ship. I mean, first of its class.
I think there's probably been a couple
Be
of
the
others.
second one.
On one other, yeah.
It's
I'm not
usually
horribly
the
close.
second for the Enterprise.
Is
isn't
it?
Yeah, well, because the Galaxy class, the
And the
USS Galaxy
Galaxy
was the
it?
first
They always,
one.
they always have
The USS Sovereign was the first Sovereign
They
class.
always, they always have a
So there'll
first of
be a
the.
USS Morpheus somewhere.
Yeah.
I assumed it was something like that, but
Yeah, the left side is blue, the right side is red.
I think families on board Starfleet vessels are an important thing, and I think, if anything, Federation citizens would probably want to do it more because it's another thing about putting the war behind them.
I think I would. I'm planning on having a character that has got a kid, but it isn't with her. But I'm perfectly okay with there being families on the ship. I agree. I think that's quite Yeah, it's putting the war behind you, isn't it?
I think it's one aspect I think that is more important is if you think you're going to have characters that, yeah, it's an interesting story point to have their family on board or be separated from their family because they're not on board.
Well, the option's there for you. I mean, even if you have family on board, your family might not be there, so you can have.
Yeah.
Both. What do you think?
And also, it's one thing to say you can have families on board, but it's another thing for individual authors to go, holographic, you say. No, how about just for the maiden one, you guys stay at home? And
I am thinking along those lines of the holographic hulls are still a new thing, and a lot of people don't trust them.
Definitely true.
Well, because, I mean, so is this the maiden voyage?
I think so, yeah.
So we could say, yes, it's supposed to have families on board, just not yet because it's the maiden voyage.
Yeah,
We're doing basically a trip round the block or whatever.
but we are
Second
taking our tractor beam. We are taking our photon torpedoes. They're not coming on Tuesday.
Second star on the right and straight on till morning. But yeah, it's designed to have families on board. I mean,
yeah, it's a shakedown.
It's a shakedown.
essentially.
it's the one after the shakedown.
Mhm.
So yeah, maybe the facility is there. We'll get Pete's view on it as well. But
So
The capability for families, like you say, is there. I mean, well, capability for anything. We could have whales.
Mhm.
We could reconfigure the hull and just have whales.
no, not whales, because it might be too sad to kill them.
but not the crew.
You can have holographic whales.
But we could have
I'm
them.
not actually sticking actual whales into space. It makes me too sad.
Really big combat jets. I can just about reach with a flip.
Yeah, no, one thing I don't like is hurting animals, and the idea of having these giant whales on board the ship. Just no, it makes me too sad.
But we can have holographic whales if we want.
If you need them for navigation, as has been occasionally posited. But not on the maiden voyage, right? So yeah, the sizes. I mean, I think the Sovereign's got around 500 people on it. The Galaxy, which I thought had around 1,000, apparently has up to 6,000 sometimes.
It
Just like, wow,
it has
It can
it
support
has
6,000.
troop capacity of 6,000.
Yeah.
That book will
it has a
probably
maximum capacity of 15,000.
Apparently.
Yeah. I mean,
Which one?
The Galaxy class.
Yeah.
But presumably only if you're all standing like that.
Yeah, I know, but still.
that'll tell you the crew complement of a Sovereign class.
What?
That book there.
I think I looked it up. It's about 450 something. That's the complement. And again, the
So
complement.
you say that, but the crew of the original Enterprise,
Mhm.
like all, what was it, 389 meters of it,
Mhm.
was 400.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
but
were
they
friends.
packed it in, didn't they?
They were super friends.
They had like rooms with multiple bunks in. It was the same with the Excelsior class. God, this brings me back memories and stuff. Wow.
Yes, I'm fine with whatever size you want to have it, and obviously it can change size, but yeah, you will have a complement of crew.
I'm thinking the core hull will be, maybe not that much bigger than the original Enterprise. So
Yeah, yeah.
400 meters long.
I was looking at the scale numbers for the system-wise, and it's going to be the same size as the Constitution or Intrepid.
Yeah, we talked about families being on starships,
Okay.
and we kind of agreed. Yes, it's a Federation vessel. There would be families, but it's also the maiden voyage. They probably wouldn't have done it this time round,
Makes sense?
but the facility is there to do it.
Cool.
And
And the plan in the future is to.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, that makes
Because
sense.
with the holographic ship facilities are less important then.
and
The
then,
holographic hull can take more people, and obviously
Yeah.
you can.
Okay, so there's a bit of room in the non-holographic hull right now.
the other
Only
question
in
was,
emergency
If
calls.
would
we,
there,
if we had to go to
the other question was, would there be a 10 forward? And I said yes, on the grounds
only
that
if it's on deck 10.
And in the front of the ship.
on the grounds that it's this a sentience experience that no matter how good your holographic technology, everyone will want to urge for the actual real thing. So you would have a bar
Yep.
there with actual
real
real
drinks.
drinks, and an actual real.
And we
so
thought that would probably
the
be in the non-holographic portion,
yeah.
Yeah.
which did lead to does that mean a third of our non-holographic hull is the bar?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Romulan ale is no longer illegal. It's just extremely hard to come by.
Good.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
That's good.
that's good.
Which brought us to the last question, which was the.
Oh, it was just about. I was getting
Federation.
actually into the system part of things.
Well,
I'm talking about how the holographic ship from. I was going to mostly make it. Like the stats and therefore, and I was going to make a number of different versions, like pre-designed
Configurations.
Yeah.
So we go, let's do a science hull and
So-
go to this, or let's do a combat hull and become an Akira.
So I'll go into,
In stats wise.
yeah, exactly.
Do you like Akira class as much
I
as
do.
I do?
So to get into the system a bit, most things, people and ships have sort of two sets of numbers.
Mhm.
There are attributes for characters, and then there's their disciplines. So that's sort of your attributes and skills kind of things.
Mhm.
For ships, it's systems and departments.
Okay.
So your systems are like your physical attributes for your ship. So they're the physical things. So they're the things that you'll be able to modify with the holographic
Mhm.
mod moving around, I thought. Whereas your
Okay.
departments are like your personnel, your sort of other infrastructure, your other equipment, your sort of knowledge of the database, that kind of thing. And so much more of the sort of skills of the ship. And I think that was probably what would be fairly static.
Okay.
Yep.
So would we
Would
like have
change
a
the whole
pool
holographic.
for the systems? And you
Well,
could
most of
flex
it's defined
it?
by the mission.
Okay.
But you've got sort of 3 points to spread around the six
Okay.
the six sort of departments, which
Mhm.
are command, which is logistics as well as command. It's also diplomacy.
Okay.
You have probably at least +1 in that because you're a flagship, and all the other flagships in the system have had at least a +1 in command
Mhm.
because they're a flagship. They're diplomacy. They fly the flag. To make an impression. The other ones are security, which is what we expect: internal security and external. Science, flying, engineering, and medicine.
I think
We only
science and
got
engineering.
we've only got 3 points to spend.
Yeah, and one's definitely going to go in command because it would be weird for a flagship not to. So you've got
Let's
And
say-
I think
you get a +2.
I think it has to be science at
Yeah,
least one
it's
because
a
it's an
vessel of
enterprise.
exploration.
It's an
The
exploration.
Constitution.
and it's a holographic ship.
And it's
Engineering.
holographic ship.
Engineering.
Yeah,
So I think
science,
engineering and science.
engineering,
Yeah.
And they're the two cutting edge.
Well, that's your basic three parts.
Maybe that's the Constitution science. There you go. I think the sovereign might not. Anyway, but yeah, so that's roughly what I would have expected. I just wanted to check. So, but
What
that's
was
all
the-
the fun questions.
No. What was the biological to holographic crew complement?
I don't think there are many holographic people, personnel
There's no
around.
personnel.
Jeffrey.
Oh, okay.
So there's probably only about.
Does he live in the tube?
All the engineering holograms are called Jeffrey.
I suspect. Well, again, I assume that the computer. Are you talking about like sentient holograms that would be counted as people, or are you talking about like just the sort of
Yeah, can
extensions
we
of the
play a
computer?
hologram?
Yeah.
That's part of the holographic ship.
I'll have to make up the rules a bit for it because they've not
Sure.
done the Voyager characters yet, so there's
Yeah.
no rules for it.
Right,
as far as I know.
night shift, guys. I'm turning off the hull.
What am I doing?
But yeah, I think there are probably a few holographic personnel aboard, but I don't think it's like a significant portion of the
Yeah.
crew. And there might be, like the computer does stuff itself. I mean, even the Enterprise Galaxy class cleaned itself apparently. So it's probably
Butters.
Like a cat.
always wondered how. It's like a random throwaway line in the Orish episode, but
Yeah.
I was like, how?
Yeah.
Does
They were
transport-
scutters.
Well, they're scutters. You never see them? They're always just
If you
on
haven't watched
camera.
Red Dwarf, watch Red Dwarf.
Anyway,
The
always
prop-
wonders.
The proper Red Dwarf.
Not so much the other ones.
But yeah, but I suspect the computer does some of the stuff itself with holograms, like fixing and tidying. But it's all labour.
Put site-to-site transport on the dirt.
Well, I wondered.
Well, where do they transport it all away?
Mm.
So yeah, let's get some.
We'll find out.
Was it the Baryon sweep
Mm.
where they parked it in a giant
Where
thing?
Tuvok tried to take over the ship. I mean,
Yes.
that was a good episode. I like that. I've got to go and get my saddle. That was his
Lame.
premise for getting away from the chat with that diplomat, that
Yeah.
guy who talked all the time. Captain who loved the sound of his own voice. Can't remember.
all of them.
All of them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Let's get a character sheet so you can at least glance at them.
Pretty friendly
At
characters.
least look at the carrot sheets.
Oh, indeed. In pretty colours.
Can't really see it in the light.
If you angle it down a little
Yeah,
bit, like
it takes
like that.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, fine.
I appear to have something that is not a carrot sheet.
Sorry, did you get the
It's focusing
supporting?
on Dan's
Yeah.
face.
We'll get into that later. Supporting character
Yeah, I
sheet.
mean, who wouldn't? Yeah, right. Yeah.
And we'll get it mixed in there somewhere. Okay, so the main question to start with is that there are two ways of making a character.
Ooh, hello.
there is a life path thing where you go through sort of 7 stages of the life, some of which are less stagey than others, but still.
Born
And you
on a Monday, Christmas on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Chilled on Sunday. Yeah, you go through your species, where you grew up, what happened at the academy, your family, all of that stuff. And you go through and you assign it, and then you've got like a fully complete, everything filled in character at the end of it.
Yeah.
Or there's the sort of making creation type thing, where you basically assign a species a few numbers and a role, and then you just kind of make the rest up as you go through as you're playing.
I like the sound of that life path.
Yeah, I like the life path.
I like the life path character generation in general.
It reminds me a little bit of Traveller, which is quite cool.
Die.
Yeah, you don't really die in Traveller.
We don't
Mine is
die.
Not anymore.
You just get a huge debt and then get killed very brief shortly
Yeah.
in game when they cut
Yeah,
you down.
yeah. I've got all this medical debt to pay off, and I've got a strength of 3. Oh, yeah, I got shot, I'm dead. Anyway, I think life path is fun as well. It helps you sort of flesh out the character a bit,
focus
and
on
build an idea.
I
If
like,
we haven't
I like
fully
them when they
formed
come along.
There are benefits to both. Like I say, the life path means you've gone through the character, you know them really well, and you've got different aspects of them. But
Okay.
the one in creation means that you can do it like a television series, where you just kind of have the outline of the characters as you go along, and then you find out, ooh,
He's genetically engineered.
he's got a bionic heart.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Are we going to try and decide who's doing what role, though?
Yeah, I think
Before
that's
we
a good
embark
way of
upon that.
However you
starting.
want to start, basically. I mean, the life path starts with species, but yeah, you can say what you're able
Why
to
don't we do that? Let's do that.
Let's
I
go,
think we should have an idea of like species and like if you want to be science or medical or security, and then we can do life path.
It's however you want to go with it, really.
Yeah, so species first.
Let's do species first.
Yeah.
I know what I want to
because
be.
we all know what species we probably want to do.
I want to be a Cardassian. No one's got a problem with me being a Cardassian, do you?
Good.
Just all the
no.
insurance. Just all the insurance. And the cleans.
And the brain. And
A lot of humans. And,
yeah.
actually,
Cool.
no.
Is your name Garrick?
Good. Federation.
No.
Federation
Oh.
humans.
Does start with a G though.
How unusual.
I want to be a Trill.
Garrick.
Trill. So we've got a Cardi, we've
Um,
got Trill.
Cardassian.
I like
again,
Trill.
If you want to talk about roles and stuff first, you can. If you don't have to decide.
I would like to be science officer
Science officer's cool.
or a captain with a science specialism.
So,
But I'm more.
strictly speaking, within the rules, you do kind of need a captain and probably a first officer. But I'm perfectly willing to NPC
We
any
can
of these
figure
roles.
that out later.
right. I played a first officer last time, so if we're going for that, I'll be the captain.
Well, do you know what species you want to play?
If you're captain, you've got to be human, haven't you? They don't promote non-humans up beyond
Or they die.
commander. Oh, yeah.
Well, he died.
Yeah. Oh, there's a Vulcan captain. Oh, he dies.
Like I say, if you just want to be senior crew and I can just play a particularly laid-back captain.
That would seem a bit silly, I think.
You're just
one of
very
us
hands
should-
off.
I think one of us
should be the
Okay,
captain.
so who wants
But it is an option, and it talks about it, doesn't it? Does it talk about it in the book?
Not that I remember.
No. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
And you're going to be a doctor.
Does it,
do you
I
say?
would like to do Chief Medical Officer, but again, I could probably come up
You're
with a
going to
captain
make
idea.
medical roles.
We're going to get over the issue.
No, we're
Sam
not.
seems to have an ability to like accidentally kill everyone she makes medical. It's not fair.
In my
role-playing
defence,
games.
Pete did give me a role
did.
that I had about a 10% chance
I
of
gave
passing.
her really. It was
And
a
if I
harsh.
failed, I
incident.
annihilated
What
the
character was
species. I failed.
That was
Okay.
my own set
So,
system.
Yes,
I'm thinking either captain or security or engineering. I mean,
so you narrowed your options then.
yeah. Well, I know. But the
I know Dan
idea.
wants to be captain.
You
No, I
want to
don't.
be captain?
No,
You can be captain if you want.
I don't want to.
Well, if you don't want to be captain,
If you don't want to
then
be captain,
Keith
I'll
should
be captain.
Because Keith.
I'm literally giving you
listed
the
it.
option. Do you want to be captain?
No, I don't want to be captain.
Then I'll be captain.
Okay.
You prefer not to be.
No, I'm happy being
So what
chief
species
science
do you want to
officer.
be?
I would prefer not to, but
I'm just looking for a mixed bag.
Benzite,
No.
Bolian.
No.
Andorian.
Andorian again.
I was an Andorian.
Andorian.
I've been Andorian again. so-
Yeah, Andorian captain. We can go and fight people.
Just gonna see.
Have you got one of those weird knifey things?
Of course.
The ice pick
Good.
things.
Yeah.
With the cord and everything.
I quite like that
There's
fight.
a display
I-
case in my quarters.
I'd like to do a Vulcan security officer.
Ooh.
This riot is
He's going to
illogical.
murder everyone. Huh? There's something about yes. I've often gone to security. Ooh.
You'll have
Probably one of the hardest
you'll have
ones.
these intruders captured in a pinch.
That's the level we're working at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Brilliant.
dear.
Bring it on.
So,
And it was an enduring trip.
Right. So
So that's at the back as well.
yeah, you will have to kind of fudge
Yeah.
some of them, I think.
No, there's rules for it at the back.
Yeah, but it doesn't have. I think we'll have to fudge the species talents. I don't think because
Okay.
a lot of the Kardashians have a species talent basically, but it's not spelled out. That is.
Why not use
Okay.
the online life path generator for that? Because that gives you the Kardashian one.
Doesn't it? I didn't know there was one because I didn't expect we'd be able to do it here
Nobody knows.
because
Sorry?
we're in a studio.
Online lifestyle.
Studio.
Yeah, we've got a studio.
So I didn't expect to have the internet.
We don't. It's okay. Let's stick with the book. Let's go with the book.
Right.
Right.
well, if you need to use the internet, for some reason Vodafone have given me 100 gigabytes free for the next 30 days.
Ready? Buy me.
So at this point, it's probably.
Nice.
So, do you want to stream something here?
Yeah, no, we can
No,
do
I
it.
don't.
Yeah.
So
Let's
let's
start, can't we?
each one of these sort of steps gives you bonuses to different things. So it's
Yeah.
probably worthwhile to explain how the system works a little bit, because otherwise you won't know what any of these things mean.
Yep.
So the basic roll within the system is your 2d20,
Mhm.
and you're rolling them, and you're trying to get underneath some scores. What you're trying to get underneath is an ability plus a discipline.
Yep.
Yes, various special details.
And it's fairly flexible, isn't it? You can be like, I'm gonna, based on what's.
Well, yeah, when you get to the attributes, you can see that it's quite flexible because they're not
I'm really
named very
sad, 'cause I
strictly.
have defenses that
Daring.
I've never been involved in anger.
But yes,
Add one of those to
Mhm.
one of those,
Nice.
and you have to roll under it.
and so
Seems easy.
when you roll, for each one you get equal to or underneath the total of the discipline plus the attribute. That's a success.
Yep.
If you roll a 1, that's 2 successes.
Okay.
You have something called a focus. Now, focus is kind of specialist areas. Kind of your disciplines are like the knowledges of stuff, but they're quite wide.
Yep.
Your very specific things like your warp core engineering or your psychiatry or you're torturing people to learn how
Yep.
they genetically work.
Yep.
Um,
Drinking canard.
logic, all of these things.
Logic. I've got the focus. Logic.
Well, I can't remember if it's listed, but I could say it.
Some
Maybe a
specialty
bit wide.
reason, possibly.
Well, no, they're not. They're not. Focuses aren't
Don't
attached
you
to
have-
a discipline.
No.
Don't you have
If you can argue that you can use it,
Yeah.
then
Well,
the
then
focus
logic can be
applies.
Won't
Yeah.
you have like a natural superior complex? Superiority complex.
It's not complex.
That's more of a value.
I'm
thing.
just superior.
Well, that goes into the other thing. The other thing, probably the most important thing, are called values. They're the things you strongly believe in. They sort of define your sort of character. They're sort of new life and new civilizations, or
So are they sort of free text, or are there options?
Shooting first is
they're more or
valid.
less free
First
text. I
contact
mean, I
danger.
have many examples, such as
That would not have got you so
provenance,
close.
or the price of peace is vigilance, or the voice of the crew. There can be relationships with people, so you could have had
cool.
someone always has my back, competitive with someone, or drive for exploration. Whenever possible, talk it out. I can tell when you're lying. That was a Page's one, I think. And then they've got some of the other ones here, which are a bit more. Yes, daughter of the fifth house, holder of the sacred chalice of Rix, and heir to the holy rings of Beta Set.
Yep.
As one. So yeah,
that even mean?
Luxana.
that's the kind of choice you said a lot.
That's her.
That was
That's
I'm
her
the ability. I'm the all of those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
You pay attention to me. And values, they don't come up huge amounts, but they come up with a particularly important points thing. Anyway, to get back to the rolls,
So you add two things together and roll.
you
underneath.
roll under, and if you hit, normally get a success for being under, and if you hit a 1, you get 2. However, if it's an area of focus, you get 2 successes if you roll underneath your discipline in the area. So if you're very good at engineering and you've got a focus, so if you're doing engineering on a warp core, for instance,
Yep.
and you roll underneath your
engineering
engineering, which was probably
discipline.
4 and 5, as opposed to just 1, you'll get 2 successes on that dice.
Okay,
And you can buy more dice with momentum and other things later, which
sure.
We
And
can
if people
explain
help
later.
you in another
people
bits and bobs.
can help. People can help you by rolling 1 dice themselves on something of their own thing, but they only roll the 1 dice, and then they help you if they get
Okay.
with as many successes as they get. And you can buy dice with momentum, which is a thing you get for. You don't start with any, but there are points. They're the bluey points that you get for getting extra successes over the difficulty,
Okay.
and you can store them or you can use them immediately.
And your attributes are sort of arranging around 10ish, aren't they? And
Yeah,
your
yeah, they
disciplines are sort
Go
of
between
2
7 and 12, I believe. Yeah,
7 and 12, and
and the
2 to
disciplines
5.
go 1 to 5. You
1
could
to
have
5.
one.
Yeah.
Yes, I mention all this now because your species give you a particular bonus to some attributes. So going around, we had Trill, didn't we?
Yes.
Trills get a +1 to control, +1 to presence, and a +1 to reason.
Do these start at something?
Yes, they start at. That's a good point. Peter. I've forgotten what they start at.
Right, okay, so I'm going to write all these in here.
I'm going to write this on a bit of paper. Here we go.
Yeah, these are very small.
And again, you will
ones.
get extra bonuses to these. These won't be the only bonuses you get. So yes,
Daring.
I think.
That's a great attribute. Daring. I like that.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. So the start of life path, the character will have a score of 7 in each attribute and 1 in each discipline because they will graduate from Starfleet Academy and they don't let out people who have no idea how to play.
So
You
they
sure about that?
Yeah,
attributes
they're really
start
sort of
at
the size.
7.
Did you ever watch Generations where Troy pilots the ship into a planet?
She had one. Otherwise, it would have just stayed there.
That's true. No, you're right. They are capable
So
people.
mine was control, presence, and reason.
So they start
And you also all get a trait. Now, a trait is.
like a special.
Well, a trait is just—it's like an aspect from fate, if that means anything to anyone here. They're just sort of—they're generic words. They don't just apply to characters. They can apply to scenes, to areas. And
Okay.
they can make the difficult. They can either make something possible, like an item can also be a trait. So a tricorder. So you can't scan stuff without a tricorder.
Did you say we all start at 7 in the
Attributes and 1 in each of the disciplines.
Yeah.
You also start with a trait in your character, which kind of is how just defines things about you. So, for instance, Trill. Start with the trait Trill, which are resilient to parasites.
Do I have to write this one?
Yeah.
Well, you have to write the trait Trill. It should be under traits. You should have traits on somewhere. Is there not traits? It should be traits.
There is no traits.
There is. It's in the
top
top
right at the
section.
top.
Yeah, you won't have many.
Oh, there.
Yeah, you won't have many.
Right.
Because you will
so
have
mine
like
is
2.
You'll probably have your species and
So mine
probably
is
nothing else.
Trill.
Okay.
So parasite
But like I said,
resistance.
they exist
Don't
within the
get
world.
in-
If I
get
establish a
into
scene,
my
I establish them normally with a couple of traits, like
Okay.
on a planet or whatever.
So what were the Trill ones?
Trill is Trill. They're
Yeah.
normally just your species name, but
Yeah.
they have like this. I was just going to read out yours to give you an example of what it means.
Okay.
It means that you're resistant to parasites. Joint Trill are entirely immune to parasites, parasitic infection. You tend to have strong allergic reactions to insect bites and other forms of venom, which can disrupt your neurochemistry, particularly if
Yeah.
you're joined. And any of the many statistics of physiology, especially regarding symbiosis, are not widely known, and this can result in medical complications. For instance, so if someone's trying to do medical stuff on you, the difficulty might well be harder because you've got the
Sure.
trait Trill.
Okay.
However, if you're hit with a parasitic infection, you're resisting
like,
it will be easier
Yes.
because you're Trill.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
So I'll write in my traits Cardassian.
Yes, for instance, and that means you don't have the
Resistant
cold.
to temperature, high temperatures, and don't like the cold.
The cold,
Can drink Canar till the cows come home.
Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. I probably won't go through the in full detail on all of them, but yeah.
Was there any cows on Cardassian?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're grey.
The big ones. They're big and they're grey.
Yeah, big grey cows with spoons on their foreheads.
And you gain access to talents of your species as well as the other thing that happens at the beginning of this life path, which we'll talk about more, I think, next time.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll just go through the species and their bonuses now, I think, and then we'll talk about talents and what they are next time.
Right.
So, Andorians. Yes?
Mhm.
So you're an Andorian, so you get the trait Andorian,
Ooh.
which means, yes, you're good with cold and low temperatures. You have a balance and spatial awareness. You could be debilitating if you lose one, though, because the antennae. You have a high metabolism, and you die more quickly than humans, and you're more vulnerable to infection from certain types of injury because of it. And Vulcans sometimes don't like you because you didn't get on before the Federation was formed. Well, that's all a while ago now, but still, Vulcans live a while.
It's fine, I was in cryostasis for a while, I remember this time. No.
So
That
Cardassians
was
like
just
it hot,
quarters.
don't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we basically got one
Yeah,
person that's
yeah.
going to keep turning up the heat and one that's going to keep turning it down again.
Hey, if anything, we can quite well control the environment on our
Yes,
ship.
exactly.
That's
Well,
true.
between atmospheric and space.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Computer, deactivate atmosphere.
So you get a bonus
Just
to.
warm the air around the Cardassian. We've all had enough.
I'd consider if you could do localized environmental controls. Probably with force fields.
Anyway, I
Anyway,
can have a heater under my station, though.
Yeah.
I've got the aircon.
Yeah. You're under the vent.
there's a small fault
And I'm over by
where
electric
it
heater.
meets.
Yeah. You've got this holographic ship. And I've got a bloody electric heater.
And every now and again, one of us walks through the front between the two different.
Get the clue.
When I saw there's lots of stations, there's a small fog bank.
Cool.
Well, it's like you get used to it. It's
So
fine.
you get a bonus to daring, control, and presence. I should probably explain roughly what the attributes
So,
are.
is that just +1?
Yeah, +1 to daring, +1 to control, and +1 to presence. But they're roughly what they say they are.
Yeah.
Control is when you control things a lot of the time. It's also when you're doing any kind of attacking from a distance. But
Because it's like precision, isn't
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Daring is when you do it's what you expect to be really just throwing yourself into a situation and doing something risky, but it's also attacking a melee. I'm trying to remember them all now. Fitness is, again, general fitness, running, climbing, that kind of thing, and just how well you resist disease and that kind of thing quite a lot of the time.
Insight and reason is probably the ones that need.
Yeah, insight. Yeah, good with people and working out things about how they respond, and having insights into, like, gut instincts into situations, that kind of thing.
I don't have -1 to that.
No.
That's right.
Presence is generally, talking to groups of people, commanding, that kind of thing, and generally getting yourself across well. And reason is
smart.
generally thinking about your way through all things. That can also be daring and control and whatnot, depending on the situation.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure how these are always going to apply, and I'm going to be quite flexible to people suggesting other ones.
Yeah. I think that's the point.
It's
of it,
all how you approach it. It's kind of like Fate Accelerated's approach in many ways.
Why think about it when you
I've
can
never
just shoot
played
the
it.
things you need to think about?
Daring.
Exactly. So it's often how you're doing things for that. So then we'll do the Vulcan next, because I'll have to get to the end of the book for the Kardashian, so it's closer.
Sorry.
Well, they're not in alphabetical order.
They are here, but the Kardashians aren't really official species because this is assumed to be around the next gen period where there weren't any Kardashian Starfleet people. Well, this also doesn't have Bolians and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
that's in the beta
Come on.
quadrant.
it's from one of them. Yeah, I can't remember which one it is.
What is that
PDF
human
that-
doing in the book?
He's really badly
human?
carrying.
This is a Trillium
something.
Vulcan.
The previous human.
Human. She's shouting while behind her.
Oh, okay.
Piloting a ship into a planet.
Yes.
Looks like it.
Vulcans. Like I say, you get the trait Vulcan, unsurprisingly, which means as you expect, you're good with high gravity, you're slightly stronger, you're good at harsh things.
No sense of humour.
Also
Really bad
telepathic, which
haircut.
can be trained, but you can't actually do mind meld without talent, which is one of the things we'll get to next time. You do take regulation to control, and your control nature and desire for privacy can distance them from others and make interactions also awkward. And obviously, you've also got the other like Ponfar stuff that can kick up. As Opera Vulcans have to have an episode where they just go batshit crazy.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna fight you with this giant cotton bud.
For some reason. Anyway, bonuses you get are to control, fitness, and reason, and +1 to all of those.
Plus 3 to all of those.
They'd like to
Star Trek.
sell. That's what they'd like you to
Yeah.
think. Now, where were the Kardashians? Beast of the Galaxy. That's
Somewhere.
Saying that.
Beg your pardon.
Right. So you get the trait Cardassian.
Hey, I've already written it down.
Extraordinary mental discipline, and commonly have photographic memories, the result of intense training during childhood. They're so nice.
Yeah.
Intolerant of cold environments. Cardassian brains are slightly less acute than that of humans, and they are comfortable in bright light. They really are just snakes some of the time, aren't they? Have a negative reputation amongst many Alpha Quadrant cultures, especially for some reason the Bajorans.
Hey, haters go hey.
But yes, you get a bonus to
Years
control,
ago.
presence, and reason.
There were
Right,
4 lines.
it's
Which is the same as me.
It's about it's about end time there, so we'll go into what talents are, and you'll probably, like I say, be what ones you can pick next week because they're kind of the thing you pick throughout the whole system. And there are species ones you can pick, but I don't think it's probably a bit late to talk exactly what they are now. So yes, I think we'll finish there for the day. It's 22:02.
Okay,
I
cool.
suspect we'll have finished quite close to 22 a lot of the time, I'm afraid.
No worries. I've managed to write Cardassian on one side of the paper and Cardassian on the other side of the paper. Double Cardassian. I'm very happy with this. Well, thank you for joining us for a very interesting episode. I thought that was really cool, building the galaxy
World
together.
building then, yeah.
I like that. Really cool. And then we can flesh out the characters next time and then get into our maiden voyage.
Exactly, yes.
Someone
Yeah.
threw this
Yeah,
at me.
we're stuff
That was me.
started.
Just whack it on the table somewhere.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Please don't forget to go and check out our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're sharing all our main messages on there at the moment as we're still having some website issues.
Ah,
Yeah.
what did you get down? Was it him?
No, Dan was on the live show earlier on when we were talking about it. Don't forget to check out our Discord. There's a link below, and our Patreon. and there's a link below for that as well. Everyone who supports us helps to make it a bit better for everybody else. But other than that, we'll see you next time on Star Trek Morpheus. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Sure.